Welcome, Shweta Agarwal, ma'am. Our next panelist, Poorima Subramanyam. She is also has been very active in professional services, and she's a prolific speaker. With this brief introduction, I welcome all our moderator and panelists for the day. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you, Bahroze, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashita. I think I will introduce Poornima because I think her profile has not been received, maybe.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Poornima, sorry for it, but I will introduce her. She is the CFO of Nippon Life Insurance Company. And prior to being in Nippon Life, she has been with Tata AIG and has been an insurance company. So she's an expert on insurance and she handles a lot of matters. Just give me 2 minutes and I will just read out her profile. So Poornima is a chartered accountant, cost accountant. She's both chartered and cost accountant with about 25 years of experience across several sectors with 13 plus years being in financial services. She's currently working as the CFO of Reliance Nippon Life, a joint venture between Reliance Capital and Nippon Life, the fifth largest life insurance company in the world. She has been in this role for the past 3 years. Prior to this, she was the Chief Financial Officer of Tata AIG. Apart from this, she has worked in several companies in both manufacturing and financial services like ITC, Morgan Stanley, and Delphi Automotive Systems, to name a few, and across several cities over the past 25 years. A large focus over the last couple of years has been to identify the various levers to turn the company profitable and develop a sound financial strategy to keep it that way. She has been part of several transformation initiatives to improve profitability and efficiency within finance and operations. She has led several cost rationalization projects at her current company as well as her earlier organizations. During the last year, she has spent a big part of her time working on strong risk management practices and asset monetization process of the holding company, the due diligence, and the valuation exercise. She is not at work. She loves to listen to music, particularly classic rock and jazz. She also loves to read the tarot cards. She has 3 children who are all aspiring jazz musicians, keen on starting their own jazz band. Her husband Arvind is the MD and CEO of Mahindra Life Spaces. So welcome, Poornima, a very illustrative profile you've got. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ashita.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'll take it over from here. Thanks, Poornima and Shweta, for joining the session and sharing your experiences. It's always a pleasure whenever we are called upon to speak with the Institute. And it's good to speak with friends, and we learn a lot also whenever we discuss things with all our friends at the Institute.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yes, that I agree too. It's a great pleasure and it's an honor actually to be able to speak at the Institute where I've passed out from. So that's really nice.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs.
Kapoor.
Yeah.
All because of you.
Thank you, Poornima. And thanks, Mrs. Kapoor. I think there's a lot of effort which goes on behind the screen for putting across this whole event for International Women's Day, and especially for the campus people. I think it's very nice and a very innovative way of doing it also. The entire week, she's put up a lot of topics and thought through a lot on it. So thank you, Mrs. Kapoor, and thank you, WRC, Murtuza, the new committee, the old committee, all of them. So when we start on this, and the theme has been very well taken, skilling and upskilling and reskilling. So whenever it comes to mind, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear such words? Shweta?
So basically the first thing is like, maybe I can quote Albert Einstein here. He had once said, if you always do what you always do, you will always get what you always got. So it is always necessary to upskill yourself, right? I mean, knowledge is always a given. Your skills are there with you, but you need to enhance them. So in today's world, the biggest skill I believe is unlearning. You can't be rigid. You need to be agile. You need to adapt. Like how Corona hit, and one fine day everyone had to go offline. Like online. We couldn't go to offices. So that is where you learn on the job, and that was the biggest upskilling that took place in the last 2 years, I believe.
Thanks. So Poornima, what's your thought on it? What comes to mind when you hear upskilling?
Very similar to what Shweta said, and she said it really well. I think the role of finance over the last couple of years has been changing, and mostly, the COVID and this whole onset of the pandemic has sort of accelerated whatever we need to have done within finance. It sort of got accelerated. I think the traditional finance role that we used to hold a couple of years back, or at least a decade back, I think that is completely changed. And how we need to now partner with business, how we need to have, persuasion skills, a better communication skills, manage stakeholders better. All of these are not traditional, skills that, a finance professional has. At least I can say that of myself, that when I joined, I thought it was the most difficult thing was to, be a speaker or speak about anything. I think I've come a long way, and I hope so. But I think, so it is always important for us to understand what is our current situation and how do we adapt to, whatever is going on in the organization, in the industry, in the country. So I think upskilling is something that is most relevant, and I'm so glad that this is a topic that's been taken up for today.
Thank you, Poornima. So whenever upskilling words comes to my mind, I think it's a survival tactics.
Absolutely.
For us in professional services, if I don't upskill, I'm redundant. So for me, it's like a survival tactic. It immediately says that, oh, you need to. And there was this thing which I read on Marshall Goldsmith. He said, what got you here will not get you there. So it's so important that we realize that, and that's what Shweta also mentioned, and Einstein also has been saying, and Poornima mentioned that we need to keep upskilling and you need to develop new skills, because what you have come now is not going to get you where you want to be in future. So on that, actually, I had a lot of questions on, I keep hearing the word upskilling and reskilling. So I sort of tried to see on the net to say that, what exactly is this differentiation between this? And, I heard an HR person speak. So there's a small video which I want to just share with the group. And please bear with me. I'm not a tech person. Whenever we have presentations in the office, there's a technology guy who's always been there helping us do it. And I just realized now that I really need to learn how it's to be done. So please bear with me. I'm trying to share my screen. There could be hiccups, but this is a small video on I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
You can hear?
The battle may be getting CEOs to
Yes.
stop looking at learning as getting a new skill, but looking at learning as a business strategy. You said it before several times. What's the difference between upskilling versus reskilling?
If you think about, for example, let's take data science as a great example. There may be Booz Allen Hamilton is a company that, for example, is running a program that they publicly talk about a lot. I think it's an amazing program called Data Science 5K, where they're actually upskilling and reskilling 25% of their workforce in data science skills. Now, they already have a lot of data analysts in their company, and they're saying things are moving so fast these days. The acceleration has never been faster. So the people who have data analytics skills today are going to need to, that industry is not stopping. New components of data science are emerging every day. So that's an upskill strategy where you're taking data analysts and saying, we're going to teach you more about that field, and that's upskilling, right? So in reskilling, they're also telling people that if you don't already have the basics of data science or data analytics, we're going to actually reskill you. You're going from one field that you were expert in, and now we're actually going to reskill you into another area. So giving employees the opportunity to do both of those, I think is so amazing, because what they're getting are people that are raising their hands and saying, look, I'm doing this job now, but I see the future is in data analytics and data science, and I really would love to get into that. And imagine if your employee is saying, great, we've got a program and we're going to help you reskill in order to do that. So those are a couple of examples.
It's interesting. I wonder if a lot of employers would see that as a risk, meaning after they upskill and reskill, perhaps retaining those employees.
That's a question that I think I get asked every time that we talk about the book. It's like, okay, what if we train these people and then they leave? They take their skills to another company, and it's ironic though, because if you think about what if you don't train them, and then you're stuck with people who don't have the right skills, and then potentially that means that you have to have a reduction in force, which is never fun. And if all companies have that attitude that I'm not going to train people or reskill them because they might not stay, then nobody wins. But imagine in contrast that all companies say, hey, companies need to step up and have a responsibility to skill their employees, whether they retain them or not. And then all companies kind of win, because we're all in that game of upskilling and reskilling the workforce for the better of the industry or the country, or the world. I mean, that's kind of a higher level view of it. And then I would say there's also another incentive for companies to actually take this upskilling and reskilling seriously and realize that it's their responsibility, because never before has it been so clear that employees own your brand as a company. And when I say that, what I mean is that employees are making a conscious choice about where they want to go work. And oftentimes they're making that choice based on whether the company is going to help them get new skills, whether they're going to give them new opportunities to learn and to grow in their careers. And so it can be a huge competitive advantage for a company to say, look, we offer lots of development opportunities. We want the best and the brightest to come work for us. So it's a recruiting tool and it's a branding thing, because I know, for example, at LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn. I had a great 4 years working there, and I got to learn a lot, and I got to build a lot of new skills. So now all of a sudden I'm a brand ambassador for LinkedIn and my experience there. Even though I didn't stay there my whole career, I still think it's a fantastic company, and I'll always feel that way because of what they gave me. So employers should think about that. You know, how did their employees talk about their company, whether they're there or even when they're not there?
So we've heard this, and Poornima and Shweta, anything on this video to say? They touched upon a lot of things, so we'll discuss this over the sessions, but something on upskilling and reskilling. And do you think it's really important?
Yeah, so if I may go first.
Yes, Shweta.
So the last lines which she said, you know, like she moved on from LinkedIn, but she's a brand ambassador. I mean, she's an ambassador for LinkedIn. So typically when any employee today, when I'm recruiting someone in an organization, what does he do? He goes ahead, he does his research, he talks to people, he tries to find out how the organization is. He would, if he knows an ex-employee, would definitely go and speak to that person. So you always want your employees to be happy, be your brand ambassadors, talk good about you. I mean, give them a happy experience at the company so that you get good people coming in, you know, like it's a circle. It's a vicious circle. What you get in goes out, what goes out comes in. So unless you are being fair to your employees, you won't get fair employees, right? I mean, it's a give and take in life. And as they always said, you have to give and then think about taking, right? You can't just keep on taking. So be it employees, be it your stakeholders, be it your customers, whoever.
Yeah. So Poornima, your thoughts on upskilling and reskilling?
Yeah. So I think upskilling is definitely a chance to sort of let people who are, more junior in the process to be able to sort of develop those skills that are required, because now they see that these are the things that are required. Like if we're saying partnering with businesses, what is important? And that's the value that is around. It helps, upskilling is a process that sort of helps these people kind of aspire for that and get into that groove. And I think it's one, upskilling is important. It helps, motivating the junior people to, look up and figure out, where they should be. It is cost effective because they already sort of understand and have the overall ethos of the company. So it helps them sort of get to the place faster. So I think in that sense, upskilling is really important from an organizational context. Reskilling is again really important. It also allows you or forces you, more than the organization, forces you to see what is the um, uh, what is the talent that you have, or what is the strength or weakness that you have, and how do you then, if this is not what you can do, then you move to something else, and maybe you'll be more productive in something like that. So people who are maybe good at traditional accounting may not be so good at being able to develop a forecast, or will not be able to take the amount of risk that you need to take in an investment function. So once you're able to understand what your inherent strength or weakness is, I think it just helps you in the process of reskilling. You're definitely doing good to yourself, you're doing good to the organization as well, because overall the productivity of the organization is going up. So I think both of them are equally sort of important things and are very relevant in the current organization.
I completely agree. I mean, we've seen in professional services firms also, people who have been doing tax have actually gone and done risk advisory services, have moved to internal audit. So it depends on what you can actually reskill to see what really fits within you. So I've been in tax throughout, so I haven't changed because I just like the subject. But I've seen over the years, a lot of people from tax have moved to different factors. Another person was working with me went into forensic and then went to lead forensic practice. One went into audit and did internal audit into it. One went to risk advisory and has done very good in risk advisory services. So there are different factors which you can develop in, and you need to reskill for it. And of course, upskilling is required. I mean, without it, it's not there. Even if you're doing tax, you can't be doing the traditional tax which you were doing earlier. So it is very much required. I actually thought that we could have a poll now, but I did not put through the poll earlier, and now it can't be done. So maybe on a chat box, if participants would like to contribute. My question to all participants would be is that, do you see this as only a hype? Upskilling, is it only a hype or is it genuinely required? So what is your views from the participants? I'm so sorry, this is where technology put me down. I should have checked this up earlier. But if the participants can put their response in the chat box, do we have the chat box? So we have responses coming. Yes, genuinely required. It's not only a hype, because many people feel that since people are working from home now, that upskilling has become like a hype for people to just have a good something. So can we have other participants also respond to it? Meenakshi, thank you. Soumya, thanks. So mostly I think people are saying yes.
But maybe we could ask, why do they think so? I mean, their own reasons of why. I mean, we just had one perspective from Shweta and another from me, but and of course you, Bahroze. But what are participants in general thinking about it?
It's not a hype. Okay. Yes. Maybe you can want to add something further to your responses. At least everyone believes you require upskilling, which is there, so that understanding is very clear.
So maybe if I could just, broach on the topic as Poornima said. So if there are some people, like in older times, like maybe my grandfather's time, like people used to get into a job and, they used to retire from there. So they used to keep on doing the same thing, always go at 9, come back at 5. So for them, maybe that was the way of life. And there are people, I mean, there are all types of people on this earth. So there are some people who just don't want to, like get out of the comfort zone, be there, keep doing the same thing again. They don't want to get into the unknown. So yeah, I mean, it's not that you become irrelevant, but you can still continue doing that. I mean, there's no harm there. But if you want to grow, you want different things, you will have to do different things.
Yes. Yeah. So now moving ahead on it. So basically we've seen that, and Poornima did mention earlier about a lot of things have changed, and Shweta also mentioned a lot of things have changed in the financial services world. And we have Shweta today. I really want to understand what is private equity. So mutual funds have been there for some years now, and everyone sort of understands what mutual funds do. They invest in listed securities and they make money and they take care of our investments because we're not experts on investments. But what is private equity and what is venture capital and what is alternative investment funds? This is something very new in the financial services sector. So can you just throw some light on that before we go to the development part of it?
Sure. It's a very relevant question because, as I understand, this is for the beginners. I mean, so better that you have some flavor of it. Like today, if I, Shweta Agarwal, if I want to invest in a company, what do? I go to the stock market, I buy some shares, right? What do I do if I want to invest in an unlisted company, right? So either that person needs to be a friend or family or something like that. I just can't go and invest in any unlisted company. I don't have that knowledge, I don't have that expertise, and no one is going to entertain me either. So that is where this pooling of capital comes into play, where you have venture capitalists, where you have private equity funds. What they do is they pool capital from different investors. You have big ticket investors, you have small investors, and then they go and invest in these unlisted companies. So they have a big thesis, they have their research, they have their whole processes which they follow to do this. They take ownership in the company. They take a percentage stake, a minority stake. Sometimes it can be a majority stake also. And this pooling of capital in India, now we've started, the government has started regulating it since 2013. Uh, and now they have named it as alternative investment funds. So this is an alternate investment. So that's why alternate investment fund. The typical structure that is followed is a trust structure. A fund is structured as a trust wherein every investor has to put in a minimum of 1 crore as an investment. You have these fund managers who pool in this entire capital, go ahead, scout certain companies. They have their investment theses or they are sector specific funds and they invest in that. Now, for this investment, they also earn management fees as well as they take share in the profit. That is where carry comes into play. So I don't know if people have read, but there have been certain cases and tax laws again around this carry or carried interest, which is called, whether it is a service or not, so etc. But yeah, so the typical model, as they say in a private equity, is 2/20. That is 2% management fees and 20% share of profit. And now when I talk from the side of a company or the investee company, so for them, today, if I want to start a business, what do? I have my idea, I put in my own funds, either it's a product or it's a service or it's maybe some financial tech product that I'm coming out with. Then I will first pull in my money, my individual money. I will go in to my friends and family to raise further funds when I want to grow. After that come the angel investors who believe in your idea, who would give you a check of say 50 lakhs, 20 lakhs. The next is Series A, wherein you have venture capitalists to come into play. So they invest say around 50 lakhs to a crore. Now, when there is a further growth required, then you go to the PE funds. Now, here there is a very wide range, which could be from 10 crores to 200 crores or 400 crores, depending on the size of the company.
Thanks. Because now I think it's becoming more relevant because of the Shark Tank that we have on television. So people are now sort of understanding what venture capital is and what it is. And so any new developments which have happened in the venture capital field, which you want to touch upon, something which was relevant, like you did mention something on carry. So anything further that you want to mention has changed the law or the
So
process?
the latest development is like when I say pooling of capital. So what happens is this pooling of capital is not only domestic capital, there is also international capital which comes into play. So for this international capital, there were certain financial jurisdictions wherein people used to pool the offshore capital and get the funds in India. Now our government has gone ahead and they are trying to set up this International Financial Services Center, which is called IFSCA. As of now, they have set it up in Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad. It's called a gift city. So that is how they are trying to, attract this offshore capital into India directly through India, rather than people going to these offshore financial jurisdictions to pool in. So that is one big change which has come in. And yes, the regulations, the industry makes the relevant noises and they hear us and they do it. But yes, so there were something called FIPB approvals earlier required when anyone wanted to get in this money in India. But now they have made direct through FDI, people can now directly invest in the Indian unlisted companies. They don't need to get this FIPB approval. And yes, insurance is one of the biggest benefactors. So maybe Poornima can throw some light there.
Yes, of course.
So Poornima, anything on related to PE first and then maybe on insurance? Anything you think related to PE you want to add?
Yeah, so I think while it is good to that we are able to invest in these investments, I think from an insurance company's point of view, what is your own capital is a very small proportion. But what is the policyholders' money is like is the bigger portion. So to just give you a view, we have close to 26,000 crores in AUM today, of which only 1,500 crores is really, your own capital, which you are putting up there. The rest of it is all the policyholders' money. So therefore, while it is important to get the best return that is possible for the policyholder, the aspect of safety is also extremely important. And so the regulations also do not permit you to invest in a lot of the sort of new age instruments. So for example, we are firstly mandated that at least 50% of our money has to be invested in government securities. So it sort of takes away your ability to be aggressive, to 50% of the. Then after that comes, there's another limit which says that 15% of your investments have to be in infrastructure related investments. So while you could do, again, from some of the new age instruments, you could do InvITs or you could do real estate REITs, but there is only so much. So only 3% of the total, amount of money that I hold, 3 to 5% is all that I can really invest in something like this. So those are InvITs. Then we have, infrastructure bonds itself, which are less risky and, sort of more safe. So what you can really invest out of the 15% will be a very small portion. Similarly, alternative investments is even smaller, our ability to invest in it. But the fact is that if you have some of the insurance companies, which are much larger than us, it definitely gives you the ability to earn a higher return for the customer. But it has to be done so carefully, that you do not end up losing out customer money. And especially after this whole crisis of the ILFS and DHFL, etc., that's happened in in FY20, IS Bank as well. I think we had never seen institutions sort of fall down so rapidly after being rated as AAA, from a security and safety perspective. So they've just sort of crashed. And we have never really focused on the whole credit risk as much as it's
Yes.
suddenly come into the whole it's become the limelight thing to sort of focus on. Everyone's been sort of focused on how do you improve your return, how do you increase your interest income, how do you increase profitability, and the credit risk sort of took a backseat. Suddenly credit risk is now suddenly become very important, because now you've seen that overnight you could just lose a lot of money. So I think most insurance companies, definitely ours, have sort of taken a backseat on some of the alternative investments, and we've said, okay, the first thing you need to ensure is to make sure that your money is safe. It will take a while. I think it is a cycle. It will take a while because 2020 is so close to 2022 yet. So I think people have taken a little bit of a backseat. Then you will have compulsions of profitability, and you will start equating risk versus the reward or whatever, and you sort of start to inch towards profitability again, and then you start becoming a little more aggressive. But having said that, I think the risk management has never been more important than now. And I think continuous evaluation of all these various opportunities is what we are now doing. You continuously evaluate, not just go by rating of various instruments, etc. You understand the underlying asset much better, look at their cash flows more closely, etc., so that you're able to take advantage of the various asset investments that are available. So that is what I had to say from the PE sort of investment.
So just one question on the PE. What we have been seeing is that a lot of private equity earlier used to be putting in, say, unlisted companies, but they used to be small sort of startups which you had a potential to grow. So always we understood PEs were looking at something like that, a startup or a small entrepreneur who has a huge potential to grow, and then they will invest. So Shweta did mention about angel and private equity and venture capital. But we've been actually observing that a few private equity players, which are large global private equity players, they've got investments in insurance companies also.
Yes, they do.
So that is something which is really surprising, because generally we would see insurance companies having their investments in Indian insurance companies. But now what we see is that large private equity players are also taking stakes in insurance. So they see a huge potential in insurance in that manner.
Yeah, sure. The issue traditionally with insurance has been that it's a very long gestation period business, and you don't see returns in the short term, definitely not. And it's either mid-term, medium term, or really long term. Long term, if you're invested for about 10 years or so, and it's also capital guzzling sort of an industry, because if you have to maintain a certain level of solvency, if you're writing more business, you'll need more capital. Somebody needs to keep investing. If your current profits are not enough to redeploy into the business. So it is, therefore, I think PEs probably in the earlier few years have sort of shied away from insurance. But the valuations are very attractive. And now that we've had 3-4 companies which are listed, I think people are able to see the value that is unlocked once, you're able to realize the value of the of your holding, etc. So I think now they have become a little more open to investing, and Shweta will know better. So I think that really is it. But I'm still very nervous of the PE funds who have very high returns in their mind from a rate of return perspective. And most insurance companies are not yet there from that sort of a return that a PE fund normally expects. But I think they are changing too in their expectations. We are also getting better, and I think this is a period where I think there's a lot of transformation that is happening even in the insurance space more than anywhere else. I think it's happening here because the cost has to sort of go down, and the customer is also becoming extremely savvy and demanding, and his preferences have changed for the better, actually. I mean, so what he's expecting is better service, and you have to get the cost down. So I think now more than ever we are you know in this whole transformation sort of phase.
So you
I hope
want to
I've
share
answered the
something on
question.
this transformation as to what are the new developments in insurance which has happened,
Yeah.
should be
So
relevant for us as chartered accountants also?
yes, sure. I think one of the big things from a transformation perspective is, like I was mentioning just now, that the consumer has become a lot more savvy. Uh, so recently there was, in my own company, I remember that even on all, certain sort of payments that the customers make to us, we were giving them a receipt in 2 days. And we thought, I mean, you've paid the money, I'm reconciling my numbers and I'm giving it to you in 2 days. And we were quite happy with what we were doing. Then it so happened there was a customer who told us that when I do a transaction with an Amazon or I do it with any of these other such companies, I get an instant receipt. How is it that you guys will take 2 days to do it? And you won't believe he said that, and until he said that, we were happy to be able to do this in 2 days. And we were feeling very good that it is always reconciled in 48 hours. And suddenly, this 48 hours seemed so irrelevant, an achievement for for us. And we've now started doing in 15 days, and that's all it took, for us to start doing this, giving an instant acknowledgement to the customer to say that, yes, your money is, we've got your money, and once your document is fine, we will give you an, the policy will become live. But it took only 15 days, but it took us, almost a year to deploy those 15 days to really make that difference, because but that's how a customer's preference is changing. Earlier he had only an LIC which had this huge range of products, so he would move from one product to another. And I realize now that I've been in insurance, and when I look at my LIC policies, I feel I wouldn't have taken them if I was in insurance before. But now that I've taken them, I'm sort of sticking to it. I have not gone out and looked for the right product based on my needs. Uh, and uh, and that's telling, if I in insurance have, actually invested in life insurance in LIC in a product which would not have been the best given my profile of income or my needs and my requirements. So I'm imagining that, that's what we were doing back then. Nowadays, but the customers are a lot more savvy. They actually look at the benefit illustration that is attached. They ask questions. How much am I going to get? Suppose I stop paying in second year, what will I get? What will I get if I stop paying in third year? So now they've become a lot more savvy. What they demand is also superior service. Like if they write to us, they need to know in 24 hours what's happened and how can we solve their problem, etc. So I think given all of this, one of the key things that most insurance companies are doing is finding ways to leverage technology and leverage the whole data capability to be able to sort of create a unique experience for the customer from the time you quote, from the time you actually make a sale, to his experience, when you actually process a claim for him. So, what are those sort of customer interactions? We do. So, we've started something within our company, which is a customer connect, where we randomly speak to various customers. We say that all the CXOs, including me, are available whenever you want to speak. You can just pick up the phone and you can call on a certain day, and you can say whatever is your problem. And you won't believe there are so many things that we have sort of understood because
Yeah.
of what the customer's experience has been. And so that's a journey of improving this whole customer experience. And how do you do it? Using this data, using the technology, being able to inform him better so that he takes the right decision. And why should you pay your premium? Because if you don't, then you're going to lose out on all the benefit that you've got so far, that many people may not understand. So how do you use technology so that as soon as you start speaking to a customer, you know everything about the customer, from where he's invested, what he's done, how many premiums has he paid, his income profile, etc. So then you're able to give him information. Now that you have the technology to be able to see everything in one go, as soon as he calls you, you're able to give him superior advice. So this is one of the, I think, changes that's happening with probably everybody in insurance. Similarly, I would think that motor insurance, it's become extremely fast now, that you just give your a photo of the number plate, and it will tell you immediately, what were the accidents you've had, what is the whole history of the vehicle, and therefore, what can you charge as premium. So it is transparent, but it becomes so much faster for the customer to be able to get a premium in like less than 5-10 minutes is all it takes to be able to assess all of this. So I think this leveraging data capabilities and giving the customer a superior customer experience is something that's key. It's happening. I don't think it's enough, but I think that's happening. The other one big bit that is happening is obviously on product innovation. Earlier, I think we had much more simplified products, but as competition is increasing, and as the yields in India are seeing so much volatility, the need for things like a high guarantee product, etc., has become more important now than what it used to be earlier. So the kind of innovation that is happening in the insurance products, and which is sort of trying to find out, the high guarantee product is just one of the many products. The various varieties or versions of the simple term policy that was getting issued. So all of this sort of focuses on the unmet needs of customers who are already existing, the unserved customer segments where you've not seen these segments before, you've not touched these segments before. So sort of working with all of them. And also at the same time, you have several emerging risks that are that are coming up, that you're constantly faced with, be it COVID, be it the extra claims that you see suddenly, or the credit risk that you saw in 1920, etc. So now you have all of these risks. So your product has to sort of change in order to be able to accommodate all of these risks and be priced accordingly. So I think those are the product innovation is another big thing that is happening. And of course, the cost has always been a big constraint for insurance companies. But now more than ever, I think the importance of being able to be a lean organization, be optimized on cost, has become even more important. Maybe it's because all these Ps are now investing in insurance companies and they're demanding a lot from insurance companies. So I think it is becoming important for insurance companies to sort of work on their cost. So I think those are 3-4 big things that are happening in the insurance space. Apart from obviously regulatory changes, IFRS 17 that's coming in, which is going to change the way we look at financials for each of the stakeholders. I mean, it's more focused on performance. It's more focused on the fair value. It makes a big difference to how insurance companies are reporting their profits.
Absolutely. So we've heard a lot about technology, and you did mention about technology changing a lot of things from customer experience to risk and all of that. Where do you see insurance and insurtech? Because we've heard fintechs coming in, but how is insurance working with insurtech companies?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you clearly. There is.
Sorry. So you've spoken of technology, and fintech is already heard about with banking and NBFC. They worked extensively. Do you see insurtech working along with insurance companies, or do you find that it's not yet there? What's your view on insurtech companies which are there?
I think they have definitely introduced a new dynamic into how insurance companies work. I mean, the fact that, like a policy bazaar, etc., it allows customers to now see several different companies on a same platform. And the ease of being able to use something like that is also sort of phenomenal, and it cuts down a lot of the distribution sort of cost that otherwise an insurance company is sort of spending on. So it is introduced a new sort of dynamic or a perspective, so to say, for how traditionally insurance companies have been working with their distribution models. It is not yet a very significant from a contribution perspective, because it's quite new. But there are a lot of these companies which have come up very recently, all having who are all also raising money at enormous, if not extremely fantastic valuations. So when I see that, then I feel, when I see those numbers, then I feel, I mean, there is great future, because it's not there now, but I think that is the future. I think it is it's a formidable sort of competition to the standalone way in which
Standard
insurance
insurance.
companies work, I think.
Sure. Shweta, you want to add something or should we go ahead? Shweta
No,
on
so
insurance.
as Poornima also mentioned, so private equity money is all risk capital, right? So more risk, more return. So that is what we look at, and that is why we have a good 6 months for any investment. There is a good 6 to 8 month research which goes in, and only then does a PE fund move ahead, right?
Yeah. And what I have seen of PE funds, maybe out of the 10 investments that they do, could be 7 may not give a good result, but the 2 or 3 which gives good results is huge good results.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it
Those
covers up for all
multi-baggers
the loss
only
that
pull
is there
it
in the
all out.
investment.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Those multi-baggers only pull the fund out, right? I mean,
Yes.
so yeah, obviously not all your investments are going to perform, right? That happens anywhere and everywhere,
Anyway,
but
correct.
you need to have the correct knack and eye and be there at the right time, actually.
Yeah, so I think when we summarize this thing, and since we don't have the banking person, I just thought, okay, I will share a presentation, which I'm not marketing for that bank. It was readily available. I just found it easily, and that's what I'm sharing. So please don't take me wrongly. It has nothing to do, but just to show how technology has moved ahead in banks also. So I just wanted to show on that basis that I'm showing this presentation, and nothing to do with the bank. It could be there with all banks. It could be there with all insurance companies. I'm not sure about it. I'm just sharing on that basis that I found it readily on the internet. So if I may just share this.
Expand and digitize your business? Have you ever wondered how you can manage your business through your phone? Do you want to make your collection, payments, and refunds easier? Well, Kotak has the perfect solution for you. Kotak's state-of-the-art API solutions enables a diverse range of businesses like MSME, BFSI, e-commerce, and many more to cater to all their varied requirements easily and effectively. With Kotak's payment APIs, corporates can instantly access payment modes like NEFT, RTGS, and IMPS for vendor payments and salary compensations. Kotak's API allows businesses to seamlessly monitor their money collection needs by creating virtual accounts for their dealers and distributors. You can easily identify businesses with unique identifiers and increase your business efficiency by managing all your collections with real-time reporting. You can empower your businesses with our UPI services to create static or dynamic QR codes with integrated intent links on the go and delight your customers with an effortless payment experience. Moreover, businesses can now stop worrying about sending collect requests to their customers via SMS or emails for recurring payments. Our UPI autopay integration allows corporates to register, or modify the mandates on the go through the APIs in real time. Our payment gateway APIs help businesses receive payments via all payment methods, including UPI. While our smart e-invoicing feature can itself send payment links to your customers over SMS or email for collection against their orders so that you can enjoy faster payment collections with automated reminders. Wide range of businesses like NBFCs, mutual funds, insurance companies, educational institutions have chosen our API to integrate BBPS and NACH and seamlessly manage their receivables. Kotak's API banking also get you a host of benefits like customizable APIs, encrypted information flow, lower TAT, access to developer platform and much more. Now that you know how useful Kotak's API banking can be, let's look at how you can get started.
So we just saw something which was very different from our normal banking that we do. And technology has just taken over. So in professional services also, when you look at it, each of these things which Poornima, Shweta mentioned, it's actually, we need to look at it to say, what are tax implications? I mean, whenever technology comes in, there's so much on tax that is not yet clear. There's so much on regulations that are not yet clear. When Shweta mentioned about entrepreneurs, you have a startup industry which is known now in India. Like we have got so many startups which are turning into unicorns, which are there. What are those services that they would require? So any chartered accountant, you look at its tax, structuring of the startup, where do you keep the IP for it in India, outside India? Where do you keep the holding company for it? How do you do the registrations with the institutions to get the benefits of a startup? There are some subsidies which startup gets. So there's so much in that ecosystem when you look at it. And then you work towards it to say, how do you provide services? You look at insurance, huge potential for chartered accountants. One, I think Poornima has already given in her own profile as to what all work she has been doing throughout her journey as a CFO and even otherwise. It's been changing. And the last two lines, which was very important, I really wanted to touch upon that. Maybe Poornima can add further also. But she mentioned risk, which she's already covered, credit risk of it. Cyber risk is there, something which many CAs are working on along with technology. She mentioned asset monetization. And I think that keeps coming up in a lot of public sector banks also when they talk about it to say, how do you do asset monetization? Treasury is something which she's already mentioned about. Investment is something which she's already mentioned about. These are some areas which are there for chartered accountants to work on. And especially, I think women chartered accountants really fit within all of these domains very well. We've seen at least in tax, when we work, it's not the traditional tax that we keep doing now. Of course, we do that, we do returns and we do all of that, but a lot has automated. The way insurance, banking and fund industry has moved, even professional services, a lot of things have got automated now. So we really look to see how we can give that work, which is very routine work, to technology, to tools which are there, but that doesn't dilute the interpretation skills of persons. So I don't think people keep saying, now that technology and tools are going to be there, we are going to become redundant. I don't think so. Technology and tool is there to supplement us. We will still be relevant and will still be required. I've heard of a tool, and I don't know whether most of you would have heard, which says that they can predict a case, how it's going to be the result of a case. So they actually do an analysis on the judge, all the decisions that the judge has passed. And then based on that analysis, they will predict as to what is going to be the outcome of the next case that is going to come up before that judge. There's a tool like that which is being made by some law firms and lawyers and outside India. And that tool actually helps you predict how the judge is going to work. I mean, that's there, but I've also felt that it also depends on your representations, your facts, how you put it across to the judge, because many times I've seen representations is very important. You may have the same set of facts, you may have the same sort of decisions, but the way you represent before a judge makes a lot of difference. So, of course, a tool could help you, but it's not going to replace you. Similarly, we've seen in tax filings, return of income, we have a tool which will then try and generate from the ledgers and all of that to determine what it is. But you still need to read the balance sheet. You need to read the director's report, the auditor's report to see, are we making all the claims in the return or not? So some back-end work can be done by the tools, but the front-end work has to be done. but there's a mindset change which is required. We can't ignore technology. We have to work along with technology. And I can tell you, I was traditionally doing tax. I mean, you can imagine I'm from Ferguson's who were generally just doing tax work. I got a stint to do with technology first when I came back after my sabbatical. And imagine it's a sabbatical, I'm out of tax, I'm out of technology altogether. And here I'm joining an organization where I'm going to have my first stint that working with a technological company to say we need to develop a tool which will do a computations because it's huge. There could be errors if it's done manually. Excel may not work through. The number is huge. So I actually started reading and doing, saying logic, build a logic as to what is it in tax that we are looking at. And then the computer software guy did the computer coding and we had the tool ready. It took us 1 year, like any change requires a 1 year and then a testing for another 5-6 months to say it's working correctly. But I learned how to do a business rule, how to build a logic and have a tool prepared. And this was sometime in 2002-03 when I just started back again. And that's really helped me through. So, that's where the upskilling comes in. You're having a tax knowledge, you apply that to your technology and see how you can develop the tool. When FATCA came in 5 years back, the same thing came in. We never had a tool on FATCA. It was a new law, a US law, which we're trying to interpret in India. Our tax authorities are very good, extremely, extremely good. And they were on top of it. They knew exactly what they wanted to do and how the reporting is going to be. We then started working with financial institutions to say that, okay, what you need to change in the system. So again, this thing came in that we actually prepared the logic. We prepared the business rules for financial institutions for the software guy to understand. We had, I don't know how many number of hours discussion with the software guy to make him understand what we are saying and what we put in as a logic, how the flow of that whole thing has come through, and then the system changes have done. And we work with several institutions on that. So every time something like this comes up, I think we need to upskill. We need to know the tax laws which are coming new. We need to know how system changes have to be made, and we need to work on it. So we need to have an open mind. If you can't just say that we are just doing tax and we can't do it. And now it's like percolated down below to several areas, whether it's TDS reconciliation, whether it's 26AS reconciliation, whether it's return of income. Every particular thing we need to have technology with us. So that's something that we have seen developed in a professional services firm. And I have a polling question here. No, sorry, I don't have a polling question here. Mainly on this factor of what's new. Automation and tax is, of course, new. We've seen of the APIs and the tax impacts of its startups and tax impact. The new which is coming out is digital currency. A lot gets said about it. A lot gets said negatively about it. But that's one area which is there. So we had something as cryptocurrencies, which is a digital currency format. And there are several cryptocurrencies, good or bad. I'm not on that at all out here. That's for everyone to decide and the risk attached to it. But now we're having governments say they want to come out with digital currencies. So we have several governments already working on use cases, like Hong Kong has come out with something. China is working on it. You have OECD, you have IMF, you have a lot of institutions working along with governments on that. South Africa also came out with a report. Of course, India also is working on it. There's a committee which has been formed. There's a report which has come up on digital currency. So that's the next big area that we think will be most relevant for institutions to understand and chartered accountants to understand. What is going to be the implications of all these digital currency formats which will come in? And therefore, it's very important that we upskill to it to say that how do we really understand all of this digital currencies that we have? Now, moving forward to this, how do we keep a track of so much changes which keep coming? And once when I was doing a session with someone, I said, the person at the panel said, I really don't know what my company keeps changing. Even I don't know how I would explain it to you. So it's so much of change happening within large organizations and so much of change happening in regulations, in tax, in the industry itself. How do we keep track of it? How do we manage to learn things? So, Shweta, basically, how would you do your learning?
Yeah, so this private equity industry is so niche, it is such a niche industry. Like you have just around some 700 funds in India, and basically, as I said, they are set up as a trust. I mean, there's just one or two PE funds which are set up as a company, and we are literally using the entire trust law for this PE industry. So there is no written law, or there is nothing specific here what to do, which regulation to follow. Yeah, SEBI did come up with the AIF regulations in 2013, but that does not talk about accounting, etc. That is more on the PPM and the life of the fund, and those different perspectives there. So for us, and very, very much in my industry at least, everything is on experience and networking. So that is one biggest thing. I have always been a part of forum. Basically, we have a PVC CFO forum. In fact, now we have gone ahead and legitimized it also. So we have formed a society, we've registered ourselves so that we can make the right noises, do the right representations, and help our peers. We have a quarterly meetings wherein we give updates. There is something new coming up, there is some new case which has come up. So how do we disseminate information? We have everyone can come and give their point of view, and maybe then we can take it ahead from there. So for us, the biggest thing is networking, uh, which is very important in today's world. Not in my field, I feel in any field. In fact, if I may take the liberty, I'm sure Poornima would be a part of the insurance industry CFO group, right? So there are many such groups, formal as well as informal groups, wherein people do connect with each other. And knowledge sharing is very important. So we make it a point to get a industry expert, a sector expert to come talk to us. We ask our queries, hear them out. We even do these for our employees. I mean, I have recently joined SBI just 7 months ago, but yeah, in my earlier role at Paragon, that was something which we always wanted to do. And we started every quarter, we used to have someone come and speak. We used to pick up some other topic. And then we also have certain initiatives wherein we encourage our own employees to do some research on something and come and give us a feedback. Like I, in fact, like I did my CPA just in 2016, like, which is as recent as just 5 years ago. But yeah, so when you read about something, you know more about things. Like I have international investors, when they come and they ask me questions, their KYC, when they have to do their return filing, I need to understand. When he says K1, I need to understand what he means by that election and partnership. And also, that is how you generate your own interest, so that you understand your work better, you appreciate it better. So yes, networking, uh, reading, and attending sessions, that is more important. Yeah, you can, obviously people can do MBA, you can pay for it and do it, but it's not necessary that is going to add the relevant skill. First, you need to understand which is the area of your interest, whether you want to do it for your personal knowledge or your professional, or the specific job that you're into, and then you pick up the right forum.
I think this is very important. So I think what Shweta mentioned, the last part, your personal growth and professional growth. I think people need to understand that, very important, that you also are a brand. You're a chartered accountant. You're a brand by yourself. And of course, your professional development. So both have to be looked at and taken care of. Thanks, Shweta. Poornima, your thoughts on how do you keep your monitoring your development and learning goals?
Yeah, I think what Shweta said is not only sort of unique or applicable to the PE funds. Again, insurance, we've got only 54 insurance companies in India. And it is so different from every other industry. I remember when I first joined the insurance industry, I did not know that there was something called a policy holder account, and then there is something called a shareholder account. So I looked at the P&L, and I was, before I was going for the interview for this job, and I said, there doesn't seem to be anything in the P&L. How is that so? I mean, where is where is all the mal? Where is it gone? And and much later, after I obviously got the job, and then I started to look at the stuff, and then I realized that there is something called a revenue account, which is where all of the policy holders' details are sort of maintained. And then there is a P&L account. So it is that different from every other industry. Then what you've done in this year will not give you any result. So this year's profitability or this year's numbers are no representation of whether you've done good work or not. In fact, if you've sold less, you will make more profit because you don't get an initial strain to your to your business. So everything is actually different from what you've ever learned before. So the only recourse really is that you need to be able to have adequate amount of networking between these companies. Uh, and really these 54 are life in general. Now general is completely different from life. So you have even smaller set. You have only 24 companies really, which are life insurance. So networking and knowing what they're doing is what other people are doing is the most relevant thing, without which it's difficult to sort of keep pace. Of course, the regulator is very structured, and they've come out with circulars, guidance, and regulations, etc. And they very frequently, it's one of the regulators I've seen who is very up to date on whatever is happening in the industry. They're very clued on, and things change pretty fast. So that is very helpful. Um, and they also have a kind of a structure that enables insurance companies to have a common voice. So they have a life insurance council, they have a general insurance council. So if there is a certain issue which you want to sort of represent, etc., there are all these forums which are available. So in that sense, I think it's very well managed thanks to the regulator, and the regulations are so strict that you cannot move without hitting on one of the regulations. So you're very governed in that sense. But yeah, if there is something new that has happened and you want to know how you should be, should you be creating a provision for this or not? You want to know what other people are doing, because you don't want to be the only one who's completely becoming aggressive or being completely going the other way around. So it becomes important to sort of keep in touch. Similarly, even IFRS, the way it's applicable to an insurance company versus others is completely different. It's still not become applicable for us. So we do have a lot to learn from other industries, etc. But when it does happen, there are only these other 23 companies that you can talk to, because the way the liabilities are fair valued, you can only ask one of these people, or you can go for international precedents, etc. But there is very little that is available outside because it's so unique. Therefore, to be able to keep in touch with all the other people and is most important. And anyway, I think networking is probably the most important skill. Communicating with others, etc., is the most important skill which is required, not only at at a CFO level. I think it's required at every level. So I think I
completely
agree with what Shweta said.
So on a lighter note, if I may add, like when I started, actually my introduction to PE just happened in 2008 when I joined IDFC. So till then I just knew I didn't even know actually what is private equity, but I just took the plunge, and I'm very happy I did that. So when I used to go, I used to get invites to attend these sessions, like Deloitte, KPMG, they all have these breakfast sessions where they invite the CFOs, etc. So earlier, you have, as a human being, you have this thing, if I know someone only, then I should go, But eventually I realized it's better if I don't know anyone and I go there. That's when I really network with more people. If I know someone, I may, kind of maybe just stick to that person. Then I wouldn't, bother to interact with the different people. So it's okay. I mean, you can go, and I am, I guess, known to ask questions, and I can ask any number of questions. So that really helps, because if you don't know, you don't know. That's the reason you are there. And I would actually say that to everyone, that please don't ever shy away. Asking questions is a very good thing. That in fact, the speaker also understands that you're listening to them. That's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely. I completely agree with Shweta. And I think that point is very relevant. That you go, so like I said, I'm tax and traditional tax. We used to never even go to events on tax matters earlier. When I started again after sabbatical, I understood that if I have to do tax and financial services, I need to know what is financial service. I need to understand that industry first. Find out what are their challenges, what are their opportunities, and then do tax. So I started attending all industry forums. And I used to be all alone going there because no one from my group or anyone would want to come because nothing in tax. I'm looking at risk advisory. I'm looking at cyber risk. I'm looking at treasury. So I've tried to understand all aspects of a particular company, all aspects of a particular sector to really understand what is it that's driving that sector. And it's really helped me. Now today I'm talking on InsurTech, which is new topic, and they've said, okay, you need to build your eminence on InsurTech. And I didn't know 2 years back what InsurTech was. So it's like, okay, now I need to know what it is. Insurance we've always been doing, but something on InsurTech, now you need to know and understand how they function. So you keep reading on it. And what Shweta said is true. I started going alone to such sessions. And I started making so many friends around, which really helped. So you get to learn a lot when you go for these events, whether it's industry event, whether it's chambers event. And not only that, the way I do my learning is I read a lot. I basically like reading and surfing. And I read not only from our tax perspective, like I said, but industry. And FICCI, CII, all their events which are there, I attend that, PhD, CI, all of those which I feel relevant events are there. I try and attend to see what something is there new on it. And not only India, I even attend events on OECD, which they have globally, because that's very important for us in India now. From a tax perspective, it's very important. There's so many things that are coming in tax which is being decided outside of India. And India is a signatory to those events, including FATCA CRS, now not Pillar 2, Pillar 1, they have signed. So everything we have to understand. I attend US Chamber of Commerce events, which is nothing to do with us in India, but it's India-US. So you need to understand that sector well. You need to know people in the US, how they think. What is it that they are thinking now new? When the US tax reforms came, I actually sat and did a change. I mean, try to see, does it correlate with India tax reforms? Are they going in sync with it? And I found that we already had some tax laws in India, which US is now implementing. So they are actually understanding what our taxes are also, and they're implementing those. So it's very important to know not only India, what's globally happening, what other people's thinking are. And therefore, I keep reading a lot, attending all these events. And now what I find is social media. LinkedIn gives me a lot of information. So of course, we need to look at tax rules. So I have Tax Sutra, which keeps coming, and our team also does the important decisions out of it. So Tax Sutra, Taxman, Tax India Online, all that keeps coming up the public. I'm not accessing them directly, but our teams put up on that and send it across to all of us. So I, of course, read all those decisions which they feel is very important, and our team circulates. But more than that, I think LinkedIn, if you're linked to people, they also put up. So what's happening sometimes doesn't come through directly from our organization. It comes through on LinkedIn. Some decisions which are global decisions, which may not even have relevance here. I've seen that on LinkedIn. Certain regulations, I also keep tracking regulations. I look at SEBI, IRDA, RBI quite often. Sometimes I could miss it. I see it on LinkedIn, it's there. So I feel social media also something where you can learn a lot of things. Google, of course, everyone does it. But other than that, I'm not so much on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, not so much. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. So I don't know those things, but I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, and you really learn a lot of things from them also. So I think from my development perspective, when I look at things, I look at all of these to say, what is it that I can gain? I just try and imbibe most of the things which are there. So I would like to understand from the audience also now, the participants, as to what do you think and what are the areas that you look for when you look at learning? And sorry, the poll is not there, but I will just read the question that I had in mind. What is your preferred method of learning new skills? Are you for classroom learning, the way you do your MBA or some sort of a degree? Video tutorials, and I think this is very important because now it's really catching up. Books or crowdsourced knowledge, which is like events and networking and all that. So what do you think is your preferred way of getting knowledge? Please, can you put it on your chat boxes? Because we don't have the polls right now. This is one lesson I've learned. I'm next time going to try checking it much before the time itself. So if I can have any of the participants speak or put it onto their poll as to what do they believe. YouTube videos. Yeah. And there are many video tutorials also. You won't believe I started learning Spanish. Of all the thing, I started learning Spanish. I started learning guitar. I started learning dancing. So a lot of things you can do. And my kids also have started doing that. You have so many courses which are available free.
Yeah.
So you can actually do those courses, tutorials free on the net. And you get a certificate from a university for that. So my kids in the lockdown, they said, okay, let's start doing it. And my sister too. So we started doing some courses like that to see what is it that they're teaching. So the reward I think came out was
Videos, I guess that is
videos,
the
YouTube videos.
yeah.
I would like to add here. Can I?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
sure.
Yeah, just wanted to add that for immediate updates, I would definitely prefer videos, but then I personally would go for a long-term perspective. I think I agree with Bahroze ma'am. Reading is must.
Yeah, reading is required, and that is very sad that people have stopped reading. Earlier, when I used to be in
Absolutely.
Ferguson's, I used to travel from Churchgate to Santa Cruz. So in the trains, I used to carry that book. It used to be hard copies. We used to carry it along, and in the train, I used to read the decisions. Morning, evening, sometimes you don't get place to sit. You're standing and reading. So it used to be those times that you try and utilize and read it.
I
So-
think from the beginning, right from the college days, we could not afford much of books, novels too. So we used to make it a point, get the Xerox copies and, share it with friends. But reading definitely helps you to the best, I think.
I agree with this. And I can share this. Even we didn't have the resources, so we were never part of any library, but my friend used to be. So she used to get the book and then she used to read it quickly and then give it to us, and we used to read it and give it back to her.
Correct.
So in that one person being in the library, we used to read books in that manner. But yeah, reading has always been there. Thanks, Varka. Thank you so much. Poornima and Shweta, you want to say anything on the chat? Comment? Is it videos or is it books?
Yeah, I think reading is almost like a forgotten talent now. So recently, my elder son is in the ninth class, and so I was doing Hindi with him, and I said, "Okay, come, let's read this thing. First, we'll read, and then we can sort of discuss." He said, "No, there's a YouTube video of some teacher who is basically explaining everything. I'll just see the YouTube video." I said, "But you have to also read." He's saying it's not required. She does a very good video, and that's good enough. And while I agreed because we didn't have a lot of time, but I'm very convinced that this we have not been able to sort of pass on this benefits of reading to the next generation, because they think and if my son hears me say this, he will say you're very archaic. But today, yeah, they are all the time, they are everything happens on WhatsApp and everything happens on YouTube videos. If you say do you know how to do this, why don't you just record a YouTube video and just send it to me, I'll figure it out based on that. And I'm like, this is never the way I thought I had to do things. So I think things are changing. And while I still believe that reading etc is important, I think there is some change that is happening with the current generation. And if it is important to be able to transmit the knowledge and the information, I think we have to travel some distance towards the videos and other things in order to for us to be more acceptable, and for us to actually, if finally the idea is to transmit that information and knowledge, right? So
Yeah.
I think we have to come a distance,
Yeah.
is what I feel. But I personally think I have gained a lot from reading. I think I read. There is no certain genre or whatever I read. I think I read pretty much everything, and a lot of these self-help books, which otherwise I think people sort of think are not great, but I think it's helped me a lot. I mean, it helps you to just distance yourself and get some perspective on on how you're doing things, etc. It helps you to
Makes
reflect.
sense. Yeah.
I personally still feel that reading is the one thing that sort of helps you.
Sure.
I hope I can convince my children someday, and I can get them to read more. But that's that.
Yeah.
For me, I am a bit different. I technically read when it is very, very necessary to read. But yeah, I know I need to
My
read. I
children
do
will
read
love
when it
you.
is required. But yeah, so as everyone is saying, videos, and also see, videos is okay for the immediate need. But if you want to understand something in depth, you have to read about it, right? I mean, today, if something has come up, some new section, obviously, first I will Google, I will find out. If there's a video, I may watch, but if I need to really understand what goes into it, I have to read, like, so there is no way out for reading, but to each his own. But yeah, reading is a very important thing. Actually, reading gives you knowledge, and knowledge is something which no one can take away from you. I mean, it is something which is only help you grow anywhere and everywhere. So no
So
second thought there.
we've seen videos and trainings also, and they're very nice. I mean, I really like that. And we're now trying to see how we can, imbibe those videos into our own tax things also. So a training video is good. It's not that it's not good, but like Shweta said, it needs to be further read up. You can't just rely on that video to do everything. So I also agree. I'm maybe outdated, so I don't know. Like my children at least tell me I'm archived. So I don't know about it, but I like reading.
Mine also.
So now when we heard initially Kelly mentioned that employees are also very keen to see how employers should develop the habit. So we've seen how we do it on our own. But I would like to hear that what are companies doing to bring their employees to the fore, and do employees see this as a benefit? Do they really think that this is a benefit which they're getting, and do they take employment because of this thing of trainings and upskilling which the employees are doing? What do you think is your view on it?
So, like I said earlier also, that when you are looking out for an employee, you have an opening in your organization. In today's world, as everyone said, that people are well connected, so people try to find out, do research on the organization, find out references. As an employer, how I am doing ref check, even an employee, a prospective employee is doing a ref check, and so they wouldn't, I don't think people will just come and join because an organization gives training, but that could be one of the reasons, that the organization is taking care of employees, helping them grow, giving them knowledge, parting knowledge. And yes, that is very important, because as you also mentioned, that you can't have people who are not trained. You can't be left with people who are untrained and who don't know what to do. It's better to train them.
Yeah. So organizations are doing something to upskill the employees. That's what you think.
Yeah.
Okay. Poornima, have you seen that in insurance also?
Yes, I have, and I think given that the whole industry itself is going through so much transformation, it's also important that it trains its employees to sort of move accordingly. Just to give you a small example, earlier on we have one set of people in my team who look at all the employee reimbursements. So we had always had this problem where we have about 700 branches. So, and the people in my team, there are only 3 or 4 people who basically service all these various requests which come. Somebody raises a request, there is a certain format in which, you know, they're supposed to do it. They don't do it in that format. They just attach the bills, they send it off, and then they start following up with us and say, but you know, why have you not given it? It is already 4 days. And every time they would complain saying that, you know, I'm not getting my reimbursement in time. And when you look back and you analyze the data, you realize that 15% of the people, they have not bothered to give any proof. There are another 30-40% of people who've not given who've not attached it in the right format, because then it is easier for the person to sort of key it in, etc. Right? And this battle went on, and every time our CEO goes to the branches, he says, what is happening, Poornima? Why is it that so many people are complaining, so many people are unhappy? And we said we need to do something about it. So when we started introducing these voice bots, on the front end for customer experience, etc., we said that we will do that even for our internal customer. Let's start using a voice bot, or the chat bot. Both options are now available, so that employees will be asked these respective questions. Have you filled in this? Have you done this? Have you done that? And if you've done all of this, then you will get your claim in 10 days. Or if you've done this, then you will get it in so many days. So we created this whole RPA. In the beginning, people in my team also were not ready to do this. They said, this is an additional step. Already we have so much work to do. Now you're introducing the step and it's becoming very difficult. But ultimately it has sort of helped, because somebody has to pick up the phone for these people and say, you've not submitted this, or you've not submitted. And now they know that it's a chat bot, so it has a certain set of sequence of things that it will ask. You should do it, and only then you will get the reimbursement. So it has helped helped overall for the number of complaints to come down. But more importantly, even my team, who was earlier very resistant to saying ये RPA सब तो मतलब ऐसे ही है, दिखाने के लिए होता है, actually nothing much comes out of it. But finally we did end up doing it, and it has helped us sort of improve our internal customers experience. So I think overall upskilling is an important thing. It has to happen. Similarly, training, as a part of this whole pandemic, we've realized that the one thing that is really an important skill to sort of achieve is to be able to do a near accurate sort of forecast. It was never more important than it became now. One is because you need to identify, do you need capital at the rate at which the claims are increasing? And actually in the second wave, the claims for most insurers had increased almost 3.5 times of what they were seeing in the previous year. 3.5 times is like 400%. It's a big number to sort of, and the hit that it gives to the P&L, you will end up either asking for capital. Firstly, it has to be available, and for capital to come, it doesn't come in day one. It will take some time before the whole process is over. You need to take internal approvals, take IRDA approvals, etc. So everyone needed to be able to understand these claims. And the thing is that the claims, the way it is getting reported, versus what we have seen in our own data and our own experience, this many states, it seemed to be underreported in the beginning. Later on, it sort of caught up, etc. So it was important that we devise our own claims forecasting sort of model, which helps us to understand, are we in a position to service these claims? Of course we can service the claim, but you will need capital because you have to have a certain solvency. Can you do that or not? So at every point of time, to be able to forecast importantly had suddenly become the most important skill for us to have. And historically, in a life insurance company, the claims is a very small portion, the death claim that you get, and the rest of the amount that we pay, if it's survival benefits, maturity, etc., there is a certain clock to it. If the customer has been with you for 10 years, then you pay this claim, you pay the amount. So you don't need to forecast that. You already know if he stayed with you, you will know that you have to pay. suddenly this death claims, which had just ballooned up, and this became the most important skill to have, to create a claims forecasting method which was able to predict accurately what profit will you make at all or not, will you have the solvency that is required, and various such things. So then it is important that you upskill. If you don't upskill, if you don't get the right technology in to be able to forecast, then there is really no place for you. So at every juncture, I think because of the way the insurance companies have been seeing transformation and the sort of risks that kept emerging and hitting, I think upskilling at every stage had become sort of uh, not only important, inevitable, and I think it'll continue like this until the foreseeable future. So the one big lesson we've learned from the COVID thing is that you have to know how to forecast your data. You should be able to quickly pay a claim when required. You should be able to change every process in your system to be able to meet the demands at every stage. So if the claims are increasing 3.5 times, the number of people who are servicing these claims are the same. So for them to be servicing so many claims is also a challenge. So your processes have to change, you have to get rejigged, and you have to make it fast enough so that every person who, and the person on that side is actually has a there's a death. So I mean, you have to make it as fast as possible so that the person is not disadvantaged. So there's a whole set of things that need to change. So I think as a part of the COVID, in a way, it's a disguised blessing to the process effectiveness, etc., because a lot had to change, and without which it was impossible to sort of survive. So I think upskilling now has been really very, very relevant for us than it would have been at any other time.
Any other. I completely agree. So our professional services firm also, if you see in the last 2 years, lot of things have changed. So, and consulting has really changed drastically. That's what I feel. I mean, now we have so many teams that have come on board, and we ourselves are not aware of things. So as an organization, what they do is, of course, we have our normal trainings. The way institute has CPE trainings, we also internally have CPE training, which we have to do it. Even though we do institute trainings, we also have to do our internal CPE trainings. So both those trainings are technical is there, soft skills are also there. But now what is finding more and more organizations doing is they are making us aware of all products, all services that the firm is providing. So we are having constant dialogue with consulting, with risk advisory, special trainings happening on tools, on the application of tools, understanding what is operate, what is their services that they're doing. So it's a training which consciously organizations are doing. So I have a small video that I want to play. Nothing to do with the firm as such, but just sort of a saying that these are some of the new areas that we see and learning solutions that you can look at. It's only from that perspective that I'm sharing, and nothing, no marketing piece on this part. So I'm just sharing one sort of though it's a Deloitte, can you see the presentation, this YouTube? And this also I got from YouTube. So it's not, I was on YouTube searching for it and I've got this thing.
Yes, we can.
The global business environment is experiencing unprecedented challenges, including changes to skill set requirements, working arrangements, and heightened digitalization needs. At the corporate level, traditional delivery methods may lead to ineffective learning and lack of organizational visibility. These, together with evolving financial reporting, tax, and other regulatory requirements, can expose companies to consequences of non-compliance. As such, corporate learning has become more business critical than ever before. Introducing Deloitte Learning Solutions, a proprietary interactive platform offering finance training programs that cater to individual professionals, corporates, and government agencies. Our mission is to make learning dynamic, self-directed, and continuous, enabling you to take greater control of your learning and development by selecting from our wide range of courses,
gain visibility over your learning plan, progress, and performance, and enhance your learning effectiveness through our unique educational approach and content. The Deloitte Learning Solutions platform gives you access to live webinars, bite-sized content, quizzes, and interactive forums where participants can collaborate with their team and interact with the facilitators in real time. Obtain recognized certifications related to technical excellence, digital transformation, and financial crime. All these and more will be accessible from your desktop, tablet, and smartphone, putting learning at your fingertips. Deloitte Learning Solutions.
So basically to say that there's so much things that you need to learn. Digital is something which is very important, and organizations are doing this for their employees. Very clearly they see that they need to do it for their employees. And now employees also are asking this question. So we did see that earlier when Kelly was mentioning that, even employees see a lot of benefit out of all of these. So there's some questions for our participants now. And the question that I have is basically to say, would you as an employee, is it important? Is upskilling, reskilling by employer sought after by employees as a benefit, powerful to attract and retain employees, or not relevant from an employee perspective? So would you make a difference if the employer were to do all these things? Would you take it into account to say it's your benefit and you would ask for it? Is it attraction, or you would say it's not relevant? And we have answers on the chat, please. Should I repeat the question again? Very much relevant, yes, Barkha. But would you see that, employers should do this thing, and employees are actually asking as a benefit to them. So they also want employers to put in that much of time and effort on their betterment. I don't know whether others are still there.
Both sides. So she means employer and employee both are required to.
Yes, both sides. Yeah, very important. Employer and employee both have to look at it. Kusum has mentioned something. I don't know. Kusum, sorry. No, it's the earlier answer. You will not believe on this financial crime. There's something on tax also, which comes as part of financial crime. So I was part of a forum in Singapore. ACMAS is an organization which does a lot on financial crimes. So it's a Singapore based, where they actually invited me to speak on tax crimes within financial crimes. So you can imagine that how much they look into things and how they are looking at things to see it. And now I'm thinking, why not we look at financial crimes in India, to say that how come tax crimes are not being looked at in India? So we learn when we attend these forums, when we are speaking on this forum, we actually learn. And Singapore has gone far ahead on, So
on this point, on the lighter note, so typically when I go to attend any forum or any session, like my team is like, oh God, now, ma'am will start messaging. I'm like, oh, did we do this? Oh, what are we doing about this? Because in day to day, okay, things are happening. But when you hear someone say something, that is when you start thinking, acha, hum kya kar rahe hain, like,
yeah.
So they're like, so sometimes when they just get some bombarding messages, they're like, sure, she's gone someplace, she's attending something.
Oh, that's true with me also. I also do the same thing. If I hear something and I said, oh, is this something we've missed? Immediately the team gets a message. And then, oh, okay, Bahroze is there somewhere. Or she's reading about something.
When Shweta was saying that, I was thinking that only. Hey, Bhagwan, I do exactly the same thing.
And sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm reading it at 12 o'clock. I'm like a owl, late night person. I am generally not an early morning person. So I'm reading up in the nights. And night, that message will go out saying that, oh, we need to look at this. So my team knows, Bahroze is reading.
Yeah, so it is so easy for our team to track us, like, so I have this thing, like there is something going on and I'm thinking about it, how to, what is the way out, what we can do. And I don't know why I have this, I'm sleeping in the middle of the night, I'll get some idea. So 4 o'clock is the time when I would send some other message, because then I don't want that idea to go out, right? So
Correct.
You get up at 4 in the morning.
no, I don't. I just message and I sleep back.
Oh, I see.
So maybe you want to share something on your journey as such, Shweta. Sorry, I mean, we are moving on, but I think it will be very important for us to, from a learning perspective, Shweta and Poornima both, on your journeys throughout, if you want to talk about it.
Sure, my journey, I don't know. Many people say that, yeah, they learn a lot from me. I'm not going to boast about myself, but yes. So I was a rank holder in my CA, and but after I completed my CA, I just did not continue working. I moved out of the working stream, and I was a housewife for 5 years. And then my marriage hit the rocks, and that's when I started working again. So given the wonderful break, and as I said, I'm not so great at reading and whatever happened in my life, so I had to start from rock bottom, like, so I took whatever job I could get, and I started with internal audit. And I then realized that it is not my forte, but I was there for a year, and then I moved on to accounting role. I was there for around 2 years. Then I was like, no, I need to see what happens in the corporate world. And that's when I entered the corporate world with Edelweiss. Was there for around a year, and that's when I found PE. So, I got my calling then, I can say. And I'm really grateful to my employer, my boss there, who's Rupa Vora. I mean, she really had faith in me. She trusted me, and she taught me a lot. And I've actually learned everything on the job. I mean, knowledge is a given. I mean, it can just take you till there, but you have to perform, right? You have to know how to behave, how to react, how to actually, reacting is the wrong word, how to respond to any situation. And that's how I grew, I learned. And then from there, then there was actually no looking back. Then I joined Paragon as a CFO, and now I'm at SBI as a CEO. So yeah, that's my journey. So that's what I would actually want to say, the females, I mean the women here, that don't ever think your family needs you. Give time to family, prioritize. You can always come back and join back. Don't think that I have taken a break, God, what will happen? Nothing happens. You need to be determined. And yes, anyone and everyone can do it.
Absolutely. Poornima, about your journey.
Um, so, yeah, so in fact, I did my CA and ICWA, and I started working in a professional firm. So I started working for PwC. So, I mean, I had earlier done my articleship from Lovelock and Lewis, which was a part of Coopers and Lybrand, and then they merged. And so they became PwC even when I was doing my articles. And so I joined them initially. And that was my worst decision. I think I'm just not good at auditing. I'm not good at that at all. I remember my first boss thought that, you know, iska to kuch nahi ho sakta. And so I had gone for one of the audits in Vistion, and then it's a automotive component manufacturing company, and it used to manufacture, and it was 100% subsidiary of Ford. And so when I was doing the audit there, that's when Bruce, who was basically the CFO of Vistion, he said that I want you to work in my team. And then he spoke to my boss, and he told him that, I'm very keen to have Poornima. He was like, really? You wanted her? You want her? She's she's no good, was his thought. But really, I think ever since I've moved to the industry, I realized that, this is what I'm good at. More than the classical accounting and vouching and figuring out that sort of stuff. I think my energies and my capabilities and my excitement is more in being able to sort of partner business, to be able to understand how do you move where, various levers to figure out how you can become more profitable, grow more. So I think that's really where I feel, most excited. So I'm glad that, that person took a chance on me and moved me to the industry. If I were in PwC and if I continued doing audit, I think I would have left it long back. And then I'd moved through various companies because it so happened that my parents were not very keen. I had to either stay with them or I had to, stay with my brother. My brother was younger than me, but somehow they didn't want me to stay alone and work. So I kept moving, to through various places until, of course, I got married. And I think my first break when I really thought, I can do something with my life was when I moved to, until then, I don't think I ever took my life seriously. And then when I moved to MSCI, MSCI was just setting up, an office in India. It's a indices and a risk management solution provider. So they were looking at someone who was going to be the first employee in finance in MSCI and who was going to be able to bring several processes from various parts of the world. And they were going to have a production office and they were going to have a research center, etc., in India, and an IT center. So that was the first time when, I was always in manufacturing before that, and then I moved to this place. And so financial services was extremely new for me. And then there was the challenge that because they have these Chinese wall thing in finance, which is outside of research, production, etc., there was a huge office because it had to be filled up with people, and I was the only person. And that's when I said, the faster I recruit people and the faster I figure out what processes I'm going to bring to India, the better it is for me. Otherwise, I'm going to eat lunch alone every day. And then I went to each of these offices. It was a great experience because earlier there were finance people who were sitting next to people in London or sitting next to people in New York, etc. And then I'm coming from India and saying that this process will now move to me, and you have to rely on my whatever intelligence and my ability to turn around information fast enough so that you will be able to use it. So all the persuasion skills, all the ability to then say, people think sometimes a bit low about back office sort of organizations, but I think there's a lot that goes into play.
Yes.
To convince each of these people that your job, firstly, the person has to teach me. He will lose his job for sure, because once he teaches me, I'm going to recruit somebody in India. And then you have to even, convince the person to whom you're providing this information. If
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm going to do all the strategic planning, budgeting, forecasting, etc., from India, and now this person is sitting in London, so you have to find people who are ready to work in that time. He has to be convinced that the person sitting next to him, that person will not be sitting next to him, and he'll be sitting somewhere far in India. So this was like a true test of my abilities, and I realized that finally I pulled it off, and that was my first introduction to doing something, um, some, something of significance, I thought. And I did that for 5 6 years, and then I was to move to New York, and I said that's not happening because I had a son by then. And then I moved to ICICI Prudential, where that was my first introduction to insurance. And at that time, I did not even know that, there is a revenue account and a P&L. So I started like that. And the fun part was I was new completely, one level below me. I mean, the people who reported to me, that person was doing a job rotation because they take job rotation very seriously. So he was in job rotation and he had no idea about how do you do and I was supposed to be the financial controller. So he had no clue because he was also looking at it for the first time. The layer under him, they were also going through, this whole job rotation, and it so happened that 3 of the 5 people were also new. So it was like fantastic. And I was thinking, where have I landed myself into? Because I have no clue now what to do, because I've never seen this PNL before. And from there on, I think I've come a long way. And then I moved out, of course, because I had twins. And then I moved to, I took a sabbatical for 2.5 years, actually almost 3. And then when I looked for another job, I had decided that this is it. I think with 3 children, I'm not going to work. And, I think I soon realized I will not be able to, do this full time sitting at home. And I was making cupcakes and all with other mothers. And I said, and I was not even good at it. If I were good at it, maybe I would have, still pursued it. But I was really bad at it. Even to this day, I can cook nothing. So I just said I have to get back to work. So when I moved to Tata AIG, and no offense, but my boss asked me this question: "आप हर दिन office आओगे ना?" Because you have 3 children. Where is the possibility that between all of them you will even come to work? He said, "This is a serious job, because आप financial controller होंगे, तो आपको मतलब audit सब करवाना पड़ेगा. Will you be able to, you'll come to work every day." He finished my whole interview, and then he called me back to Taj Lands Inn, just for this one question. He said, "I'm doing a training there, but I have a burning question for you." I thought he wanted to know more about, what I've done so far and all. He said, "Aap roz office aoge?" I was like, to this day, I cannot forget. Every time, I meet him, I say, "You remember you asked me this question?" And then I went on to become the CFO of Tata AIG. And then, of course, I've moved here. But, my husband and I were both looking for a new job around this time when, my twins were sort of 2.5 years old. Not a single person asked him whether he will be able to manage and he'll come to work every day because he had twins and an elder son. But the 2-3 interviews that I did, everyone asked me this question. And Tata AIG, though, he was really concerned. He was a very well-meaning person, and after I joined, he said, "You're very hardworking." But his question was whether I will come to work. So it's funny how we think about women and their priorities, etc. But all said and done, I think the most important thing is to make sure that you do something with yourself. You can take care of your family, you can do everything. But I have realized that, there is a lot of self-worth that comes from sort of working. It cannot be compensated by anything else, at least in my mind. I mean, of course, I'm a mother and I'm a wife and I'm a friend and I'm all of that. But I think the most important thing that I identify with myself is that, I have a job, and I have a job where I'm, doing new things every day, and it is challenging. So I think that is something that I would never forget. And I think that's an important thing. A woman should always give herself the time and space to do something with herself.
Absolutely. I completely agree. So I also had very similar sort of a thing. I
Remember
worked
in our last panel,
yeah.
you've told me, but yes, you must tell.
So I'd worked with Ferguson's, which was one of the topmost firms at that time, and I was doing very well. Got promoted every year, first 2-3 years, and then every 3 years. So I was doing fantastically well for myself. I'm very happy because I like that work. I like the work. I like the environment. Like the partners around. It was really good. And when I was quitting, also the partner said, "You should take a sabbatical. Don't just quit. Take 6 months off, and then you'll realize that you're going to be working, because you can't be without work." And I said, "I don't think I'm going to come back in 6 months' time. So I want to quit." And why I was quitting was because my husband was in the army. He's a doctor in the army. He's taken a voluntary retirement now. He's not in the army any longer. But that time he was in the army. and I had my first child. So I said, I want to be with my child and I want to be with my husband and I want to go and stay with them. So we actually went to Bareilly and I quit my job and I took a sabbatical of 6 years. So I wasn't working at all. I was enjoying the army life. I had a lot of problems also. It's not all of enjoyment in the 6 years time, but you learn. And then I had my second child. And then when he was posted to Kashmir, I came back to Mumbai. And in Mumbai, then it's the people around when they started saying, and even in the army people couldn't believe that I quit my job just to be with my husband and children. And then they kept telling you, why don't you become a teacher or you do something with yourself? And I said, my God, I don't want to be a teacher. I think I will not be a very good teacher. So I said, no, I have enough. I can't even handle that one child of mine. I don't think I can do anything further. But yes, I enjoyed the army life very well. They took good care of us. We went through super cyclones when my husband was not there. I am really thankful to the army because the way they've helped us throughout with me and my children was too good, just too good. And I went for all those ladies' meets. I organized everything. I've done acting. I've done comparing, all of that, which normally I have never done when I was working. Nothing that we do normally. I've done everything around in the army life and I really liked it. So when he got posted to Kashmir and I came to Mumbai, everyone around was saying, how can you just sit at home with 2 kids? You need to do something with your life. And I was like, come on, I'm enjoying my life. What is wrong? But then everyone said, no, why don't you just start do part-time? And I started part-time with my cousin who was also CA and had a firm. And then where I did my articleship, I had done it with a small firm. So even he said, why don't you come and work? So I was doing 2 part-time jobs, which are like a whole-time job completely, more than a whole-time job. And then everyone said, and my mom was very supportive. I think we women can do anything because of family who are there behind us. Otherwise, we can't. My mom was very supportive. She actually was prodding me more than me myself wanting to do something. It was a mom who kept saying, no, you got to do this. Okay, go to talk to them. Go talk to this. And since there were people who knew me earlier when I worked in Ferguson's, people had known me in tax. So then I went and I joined. I inquired with KPMG and, kept following up and I joined there. And after 6 months, I did not have confidence. I just did not have the confidence to know that I know tax at all. But I can thankfully say that Ferguson's training was so good and the work that I was doing there was so good because a lot of independence was given. I came up to speed soon. And then I adapted to new things. I did not have a closed mind. I was open to whatever they were willing to give. Plus take on whatever I felt people are not taking on. So I could see it was a smaller place, smaller managers, very friendly, very good. We were very close-knit. KPMG was like a family, completely like a family. You could talk and I used to take my children on Saturdays to work. So it was that good a place to work with. And people were so very nice. So everything got set and then, you came back into the routine. You have to put in efforts. A lot of efforts have been put in by me. A lot of late nights have happened. A lot of weekends have been worked on. You have to do it, but it is very, very satisfying. The contentment that you get out of that is too good. Other than everything else, I think the main is your own satisfaction. So I think over the years, all this happened and I think family supported me and my children also. Sometimes my younger one does feel that I didn't give him much time, though I gave a lot to my elder one. That's what he keeps telling me all the time. And you need to find out ways. My children were into football and the elder one especially, that's why my younger one keeps telling I didn't spend too much time on him, but I used to go for his football matches also. I used to go off from work to see that, he's there. My mommy, of course, supported and she would always take him there if I'm not able to. But I have also tried to do it. Everything which is required for the family, you do it, it gives you a lot of happiness. And it's for your own happiness that you're doing it. But I think ladies have to understand in today's world, you don't need to take a sabbatical. In today's world with technology, you can just keep working throughout. You just don't need a sabbatical in today's world. In our times, it was different. Though it's 27 working years, is because that 6 years is that sabbatical which I've taken. Others have got 33 years of experience. So in those days, I think you don't have technology, you didn't have all these things, so you needed a sabbatical. But in today's world, I don't think you need a sabbatical. You should keep working. It's something that is there for your own good. And you need to keep on upskilling, very clearly. So I think this to ladies would surely be that you continue working and you're required. What I've read, as recently I read in some article, we are now around 97,000 women chartered accountants. which is around 27% of the total chartered accountants of 3.5 lakhs that we have in India. So we've come up to the level of 27%. But the good thing what I've read is that in the students, 45% are girl students as compared to boys. So you can imagine now going forward, we'll have many more women chartered accountants. And there are huge opportunities for women chartered accountants. I think CA is a good practice to be in for chartered accountants and women chartered accountants. So now I think coming to our next part of it, the last maybe discussion point is what is the next area of development? Sorry, Poornima, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just remembered. It's true that you have a lot of chartered accountants and the number of women to men, etc. Even at the entry force, not only chartered accountants, is almost 50-50. But apparently, when you go to the most highest level, it seems only 1 out of the 4 people, really make it someplace when it's the women. So it really means that when the ratio is almost half and half at the time of the entry, over the years, I think women give up, getting to the top because of various priorities. So as much as it is for organizations to recognize that and give them enough incentive to sort of come back to work, but also, like you said just now, and it's very, very relevant that you don't, whether you take a sabbatical or not, it's always easy to be sort of connected and come back to work. I think many women just leave it halfway in between. And so, even though, at an education level and at an entry force level, and also the diversity programs, etc., that happen, women are included in the initial force, but they don't sort of make it all the way to the top for all of these reasons. And I think it's really time for all of us to change it, and think through this and not take it as just a job. It's one way of self-expression. So my request to everybody is don't lose it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And actually, organizations now are doing it. Even Deloitte, if you look at Deloitte, we're consciously trying to say that, and we've actually done a whole exercise, which I was for one of the services functions, where we've done a whole exercise to say that why after managers, so what Poornima mentioned was very true. At the entry level, you have nearly 50-50. And then by the time you become managers, is the time when, ladies get married and they're having children. So that's the time when we saw that, people are quitting and going away, are not staying around. And then the numbers keep reducing, senior managers, directors, partners, it's like coming down. And we have consciously making an effort to say, what is it that we should do so that managers continue, women managers continue? What is it that the partners should do so that the partners recruit women managers? Because some partners, the hierarchy, diversity is just not there. While some you have good mix, others may not have a good mix. So within partnership, we're trying to see that how partners should have recruitments aligned with gender and diversity. In that manner, of course, given that everything is common, you have to be good. It's not that anyone wants to go on quality or reduce the quality of performance, no way. But given that this is there, and I can tell you, one organization actually had contacted me. They were looking for a tax head and they were looking for women tax head. So they said, we want, if you know someone, because I knew the people there, they said, if you know anyone from your women, please contact them and tell them, we're looking for a woman tax head. And they kept that position open for, I think, several months till they could actually find a woman tax head. So they said, we consciously want to do that. And I've also heard another organization who wanted consciously a woman CEO. And that's the organization is now looking at it to say that, okay, we want a woman CEO and therefore we will keep that position. Everything being equal, we'll give a preference to a woman. And that I think is very important. If we can drive that across, I have a lot of my managers and all of that earlier used to be all women. Now it's a mix of men and women. But you need to have a proper sort of a balance. Don't have imbalances in that. Have a proper balance. And I think it's for women to say that you need to have encourage or motivate and get other women folks. And I think in this pandemic, at least I have noticed in the pandemic, the most affected was women employees.
Yeah.
We have seen it in Deloitte also, people who have quit maybe for another job somewhere, maybe for a house, but it's been women who have quit much more than men. So, and including in my own team, I've seen, and I felt very bad about it. And I said, think through. We were ready to give them sabbaticals to say that, think through, do you really wish to quit? Come back after 6 months, because it was very tough for women during the pandemic. Managing home, managing work was very tough. And hats off to all women who was taken through all of that, I'm telling you, and especially with small children. So I can understand with Poornima how it must have been with small children at home. It's been tough times for women employees, very tough time. So I think really hats off to all women who have taken it through all these, and the families also, because they've also supported greatly. So Poornima, who was your backbone? How did you manage work-life balance? How do you do that?
I don't know. Actually, support system, I think it's largely friends and largely friends because my parents had passed away early on. In fact, even my husband's mother had passed away, sort of long back. Uh, so yeah, it's been largely sort of friends and the help that I have at home. Uh, and the joke in my office is that there are more help in our house than the people in the house itself. But really, I think that makes a big difference. But having said that, this pandemic had been tough because, especially this school, it is online. So, firstly, most of the time, my children are watching football when the class is going on. So they have the video, and most of the stuff I think I've learned from them only. And if somebody is asking them a question, they quickly go to the Google Translator in Hindi. They go to the Google Translator and quickly find out. And I'm thinking from this room that how are my children able to answer? I don't think they know the meaning of this. But I saw that they have a Google Translator. They're quickly translating. And if if some question is there, they'll quickly check. They'll help each other, and they do all of these things. But having said that, the amount of online time is very limited because children school is also careful that they don't spend too much time online. So a lot of stuff every day. Earlier, I remember with my older son, we barely did any studying until he was seventh, eighth class. Now these poor fellows and poor me actually, because all three of us sit every day and we have huge amount of homework because they're not able to teach in the school because they are only allowed some 2-3 hours in a day, whereas school otherwise is some 6-7 hours. So in the last 2 years, I have studied more intensively than anybody else, and as a
And
part
still
of
managed work also, managed house also, and studied also.
yeah,
It's
and my
really
husband
creditable.
very quickly gave up. He said, I cannot do homework with them every day. This is just a bit much for me. I'm
Yeah.
saying bit much kaise ho sakta hai? But yeah, I think between the two of us, I think we had a tough time though.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're going back to school now actually means that we are having other conversations. Otherwise, all we were doing the last 2 years is, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you made him do the homework? Have you posted? Have you uploaded? Really, our conversations had only been, about our children's education. So it's glad that this is sort of come to an end. They are going to school, so it's really nice. Yeah, so it's been tough.
Good, good. So I think we can ask the others also maybe a little later, but we'll just complete our session now to say that what do you see as a next area of developments coming by? So what is it that the CS students should focus on, or freshly qualified, or even us should focus on going forward in the new years to come?
So I would say CA is a very wide field. You can see CAs anywhere and everywhere. So there are no roadblocks once you are a CA. You can be doing research, you can be doing tax, you can be doing accounts, you can be doing audit, internal audit or due diligence, you can be anywhere and everywhere. So what they should do, I believe, is first find out what is it that interests you, and to find out, maybe you pick up some area, you try doing that, as we all have, tried something, didn't find it so interesting, moved on to something else. So don't shy away, don't be stuck if you are not enjoying. Always there are many avenues which you can look out, and yeah, so I mean, sky is the limit actually.
Poornima, your thoughts on next areas of development?
I think really it's not to look at it as next level of development. I think this is continuous. There, it never stops anywhere. The one thing that I think all of us need to learn is to keep being able to see, what are the emerging risks, what is coming our way in the future, to always, focus on how it will all shape up in the future while you're looking at the current. And like Shweta said, yeah, you have to find what really works for you. There, for some people, a certain thing works. For some people, something else works. If you find what you like, and if it is not even a CA, then that's even better. But once you know what you like, I think that's when you will be most successful. And anyway, I think success sort of, and success, even if it comes to you in the present, or you feel you're successful in the present, it is not a guarantee that it will be so in the future. So never less rest on your laurels. Never think that this is it, and I've cracked it, and I've understood it, and it never happens. And I think one of you, and I can't remember who said this, what got us here will not get us there. And it's very true. Every year I think, acha, now that I have done all of these things, I figured out this year's profitability, and I'm like set for this year. And then next year, and something else happens, and I've been thinking like this for the last 3-4 years, and now I've stopped thinking like that. Because every time you think, acha, now though I've cracked it, now I know what to do, there's something else that comes up, and again you need to sort of roll up your sleeves and figure out, what to do about it. So never rest on your laurels, never assume that success is for granted. Everything sort of changes. Your bad luck also will change, your good luck also can change if you're not focused on what you need to do. And most importantly, you should do what you like, because that's when you'll be successful. Because success, after all, has several, there are several ways to look at success. You can be successful only when you do something that you like.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. And what we are seeing basically in areas of development is more from digital. So you will not believe, within Deloitte, there's a new concept which is coming up, and we all know transfer of assets, fixed assets, intangible assets. We can realize and we can work on it. I went through an internal course in Deloitte, and I opted myself. Even now, I keep opting for such courses. A grilling 7-week course, along with work, along with home, everything was there. It was sometime in 2021, 20 or 21 that time. It was on future of value transfer. It was so different, and I didn't understand what it meant. So I said, let me see what it means. A future of value transfer, you can transfer assets, you can transfer intangible assets. You have heard of goodwill and all of the other intangible assets, IP, patent. And here is a topic on value being transferred. I said, what do you mean by value? First 1-2 weeks, we tried understanding what is it that they're trying to tell us to be a value, and what is this implications can be. And it was so well done. There were 4 groups that were formed, and we all were discussing, and it was cross-locational. So we are actually getting inputs from Singapore, Malaysia, all of it cross-functional, not only tax, it was risk advisory, consulting, cross-functional, cross-geography. We were all sitting and discussing on a value transfer, which is going to be coming up in future. So they're saying now the world is not going to be working in this manner, the way you've been working traditionally. World is going to work in a web, and the web is going to have a value transfer. So their data identity is valuable. Do we even realize that our own data identity, which we take it so much for granted, is a valuable asset of us? The digital currencies that are going to come about, the digital form of things that are going to be changing. We've already heard of NFTs and a lot of things happening, the non-fungible tokens and all of that. So much happening on the world, we don't even realize. So we went through this whole process to understand as to if it is going to come, what is it that the regulators need to look at? If it's going to be global, do we need interoperability to be there? What is it from tax that is going to be looked at? What are the policymakers doing? What are the industry which is already existing, banks and electricity company? If everyone is going to form a web separately, and the web is going to be there like a blockchain. Blockchains are there. This is much more bigger than a blockchain. And then where does the value stay? How are we going to track it? How are we going to monitor it? What happens to data privacy? So we actually went through a whole discussion on that, which is something which is going to come about. And that's where we are looking at to say, what is it that the youngsters are thinking? And that's where we feel that the next area of development is going to be. When you look at ourselves, we work in alliances now. We can't be technological experts. We can't do coding. We don't know about it. And therefore, what we've seen is that there are alliances being formed with tech companies, including professional services firms are forming alliances with tech companies to see how we can implement it, because we understand the client better than technology. We know what their requirements are. How do you customize the technology for the clients? So that's something that's again being worked on. So there are ecosystems, there are alliances which are being formed, whether it's in tax, audit, consulting, risk advisory, various service lines. We are seeing all of this come. And then, of course, the final thing, the virtual reality. I mean, I've got a small sort of a video clipping on that because I wanted to understand myself, what is this metaverse? A whole organization changes its brand name, which was so well known. I mean, so long that brand was there, everyone associates with that brand. And suddenly that organization changes its brand name. So that means they are seeing something much more than just that brand which is there. And therefore, I'm sharing my screen. Please tell me if you see it's a small sort of a video on. Where is it gone? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just starting it.
Metaverse is to experience it yourself. Experience it yourself.
I definitely don't feel very well right now.
And you wouldn't feel well either if you attempted to spend 24 hours living in virtual reality or the metaverse. Don't know what the metaverse is? That's okay. I'm not sure anyone really does. But Meta, formerly known as Facebook, Microsoft, and more, are defining it as the virtual world that is the next phase of the internet. In this world, we have digital versions of ourselves, or avatars.
And we call this the metaverse. And you're going to be able to do almost anything you can imagine. Get together with friends and family, work, learn, play, shop.
So I decided, why wait? And stupidly, I dared myself to visit the metaverse for a full 24 hours in its current, not so great state. In fact, Meta and others will tell you that the metaverse isn't even here yet. But the best way to see the start of it is through virtual reality. And since I didn't want to pop into a headset with my kids running around, I packed my bags and moved to the Holiday Inn Express around the corner. I set a few rules. The headset can come off to eat and go to the bathroom.
No.
Yes, I attempted to sleep with it on. I checked my phone only if it was urgent. I had notifications coming into the Oculus Quest 2 headset, which is made by Meta.
It's about to be 6 p.m., which is the start of my metaverse journey. I've got 2 headsets in case of technical issues and lots of apps and other things preloaded for different parts of the day and night. What could go wrong?
Welcome to Beat Saber. Now cut the cubes in the arrow direction and match the color. That was too soon. Wait for the beat. Wrong direction. Wrong direction.
She's very mean.
I started with games like Beat Saber, since right now they're the most popular use of VR. And while many games allow you to play with others, I had no real friends to play Beat Saber with that evening, so I decided to go elsewhere for some social interaction. Altspace VR, an app that allows you to hang out with other avatars in virtual venues.
Okay, I'm gonna customize my avatar for a night out. I guess in the metaverse, I could have short hair.
I wasn't exactly prepared for what would happen next.
I guess I'll go to this campfire hub. Hello?
Yeah.
As soon as I was in the public area, I started hearing people talk and chat, and apparently there are no masks in the metaverse. I was dropped into an area with lots of trippy little Lego-looking people, and I attempted to interview them.
You're a journalist,
Oh,
wow.
I want to learn what you guys do in here.
Pretty much everything that you would do in the real world.
I knew I had really made friends forever when they asked me to go to a comedy club by clicking on this portal thing. The club was so obviously fake, but my presence in it and the presence of all these other people felt really real.
Do you guys have wine?
Yeah, of course. Wine, everything you want. Just imagine.
I even felt awkward when the comedian hit on my avatar.
The girl that was trying to find out your name, but I can't because my hands all. I'm trying to be subtle.
I spent a good amount of time in Altspace and came away thinking it's like an AOL chat room evolved, which I'm not sure is a good or a bad thing.
I need to relax for a moment. Meditation app is launched.
Kindness starts with you.
I highly recommend meditation apps like Guided Meditation or Trip. It's oddly relaxing and peaceful. And I could lie to you and tell you I slept with the headset on the whole night, but we have this proof. I woke up feeling refreshed. I pulled up some morning reading in my web browser.
Got Google News over here, the Wall Street Journal website over here, and Instagram over here on the right.
And had breakfast at the foot of Machu Picchu with a llama in the National Geographic app.
Funny, this animal has legs in the metaverse. Why do animals get 4 legs in the metaverse and we get 0?
And then I had a pretty fun and intense workout.
Welcome to Supernatural. You ready for your first flow workout?
There are various types of workouts you can do in Supernatural, which involve everything from doing lunges to using controllers to hit targets.
Let's let them out in the metaverse is great.
I got so into it, I actually lost track of time.
I have a meeting in Spatial in 1 minute. I need to change crap.
Yes, meetings in the metaverse are a thing.
Hi, Erin. I'm Joanna. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Thanks for coming.
The idea is that instead of Zoom, you chat as avatars. My first meeting was in an app called Spatial, and of course, it required a different avatar. Yes, that's my actual face on a floating torso. I met up with the co-founder of Spatial, Anand Agarwal, in an NFT art gallery with works from Ken Kelleher, aka Anchorball, on display.
And this is a great stop because it turns out I'm in an NFT art gallery, which sounds like the metaverse to me.
Heck yeah. I mean, you can't get more metaversey than a, pixelated dog or these crazy heads and stuff or these beautiful sculptures.
We also went to a campfire where I asked him about the lack of legs.
Right? The headset tracks your head and your hands, and so we can make it do realistic stuff. What are my legs supposed to do? We can't actually detect the signal from your legs. Legs are coming soon.
I quickly had to jump from that meeting to another meeting as another avatar in Horizon Workrooms, an app made by Meta, formerly known as Facebook.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like you got to really put it on the board.
You can even invite people from the real verse who happen to be on their webcams. But again, there was this real feeling of presence in the room. I felt like I was actually sitting across from my editor, Wilson, in this meeting.
It's like in Ghostbusters. I'm a full torso apparition. You don't need legs? Oh no, Joanna's looking under the table. That's so scary.
Yes, meeting Metaverse is fun, if you don't do it for 4 hours on end.
That was so much time in avatar meetings. My eyes hurt and my head hurts.
So what did I learn from this adventure, other than I'd never recommend you do this? Well, a few things. It's clear why big tech companies are fighting over this. There's an opportunity to build the underlying platform here. One avatar with legs, living across games, workout apps, meetings, and more. Meta's Megan Fitzgerald told me as much.
And the metaverse is not going to be built by one company, that there are other companies, organizations, creators that maybe we'll use our avatars and allow people to move from one place to another while still feeling like themselves.
Then there's the privacy tools and moderation. It's going to be insane, judging from my brief comedy club experience. And then headsets will need to be smaller and more comfortable and run for longer on a charge.
Thank you guys. My headset's going to die in 5 minutes.
So yes, it's certainly the early days of the metaverse. But lock yourself in a room like this, and you can really see the potential.
Hi. So very interesting. I mean, we had some session like this on a training where we said meeting. So partners could meet with various peoples, and there was an icon which identified me as one of the person in that room. And anyone who came close to me could speak with me. So you had to come close to that person to really converse. And therefore you could float around in the room and talk to many people around. And I was like, wow, you can have something like that as a technology. So that icon identified me as there, and then people could come around and speak with you. So in a room, we could do this sort of a floating conversation as if we were in a meeting room. So I think very close to something like a metaverse, but may not be a metaverse. But I think that's where technology is going. So everyone needs to know, and then so much of opportunities coming out of it. So when you just look at metaverse, you have so many questions that come to mind. If that ecosystem has so many players around it, surely there'll be so much on tax that has to be looked at, so much on regulations that has to be looked at, so much on opportunities for growing. I mean, the sector is going to grow exponentially. There's so many people are looking at it. The stakeholders within that sector is going to grow. So that's a sector which people can look at and work towards. So I think that's my thought process. And with that, the last poll that we have, and I know we are not able to put the poll, so maybe if I can read that poll and you can respond on a chat, and quickly we'll complete that. The last poll that we wanted to understand from the participants is, what new skills or topics would you learn or read in 2022? Would it be coding, analytics, blockchain, sovereign digital currency, any other? Please specify. So is this something which you are looking at? Coding, analytics, blockchain, digital currencies, or any other as a skill development for the next year? So anything on this, Shweta or Poornima?
I would want to read sovereign digital currency.
Correct. Poornima, about yourself?
Yeah, same actually.
Digital currency.
Yes.
Yeah, and let me be upfront. I don't know anything about it. I will really read and come back to you.
So I've been reading on it. So since I attended that future of, the transfer, the value transfers, after that I started reading up a lot on blockchains and cryptos and all that. Cryptos, of course, I was reading for last 3-4 years, because ever since OECD started having papers on it. So I've been reading on cryptos for the tax part of it. And now with the budget change also, of course, but cryptos, I was looking at it, but not so much on blockchains and all of these things, but now post attending that session, now I've become very interested. So we're now looking and actually reading up a lot on what other organizations are doing. So BIS also is there. BIS has come out with a lot of paper and use cases on sovereign digital currencies.
So maybe my question is pretty laymanish, but how does crypto and this sovereign currency, would there be some relation or be on the same lines? I mean, I'm just trying to think about it.
So crypto is private. Right now in India, it is not even known whether it's completely recognized or not. There were some bills which have been put up which want to ban crypto altogether. China has banned crypto. So crypto is mainly a currency which comes developed because of a blockchain process.
Correct.
And that blockchain is basically within 2-3 people which are there, private sectors. So it's not something which is outside, but it is a valuable sort of an asset, can be said. How valuable, we don't know. It can collapse and go off immediately, because there's so much of non-transparency that side. That is what I feel. The way crypto started initially was not through normal this. So there's a lot of negative attached to crypto. While sovereign digital currency is going to be government's own currency. So they will actually have to factor in to say that, okay, I have a rupee fiat now, and I also have a digital currency. So it has implications from economic perspective also. How will the economy relate? It's like a government currency only. So that's the only thing. Only one government, I think Ecuador, has legalized crypto.
No, so when you legalize crypto and the government is also, like a generator of that currency, then it becomes sovereign, right? I mean, I'm just
So
trying to link it.
legalizing crypto doesn't make it sovereign. Legalizing crypto will only say, okay, you can handle it, you can purchase and store, or you can do transactions.
Yeah, but then when the government will also become a service provider of that currency, then it will become sovereign, right?
Then it will become government's own sovereign. Yes. So government will have to do that basis with some sort of a blockchain. So that currency has to come out with some sort of a technology only.
Correct.
So when the currency comes out technology, government have to work with certain industries on that technology, which will generate that currency. And then how will that currency power with normal fiat currency that we have? So that's questions which have to be addressed. How will the inflation look at it? What is the rate currency, the currency rate which will come on it? All that will come in. So Barkha, thank you for being really this
active audience.
Digital currency and blockchain. Poornima, what's your thought on it? For
I think
she's saying something.
Anything else?
I think it is because of the curiosity which my kids have. It's made me think that even I should be knowing about it so that I can talk to them. So I think that is where I started learning something about cryptocurrencies, because Elon Musk is so much into trend and Bitcoin and everything. So thoda bahut malum hona chahiye.
Very nice, very nice. So Barkha, you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bahroze ma'am, for that opportunity here. I am definitely delighted to have you all over here. To introduce myself, I started my journey with PricewaterhouseCoopers only as a qualified chartered accountant there. And after 10 years of audit field, when Poornima ma'am was talking that this is something which is not of my interest, I definitely enjoyed this assurance field a lot over here. And I think when the question came up that how important it is for organizations to train the people, so I think PwC definitely gave me that training, just not talking to clients, talking to people around, but they trained me as a trainer too. And I think that particular thing helped me so much that I could take up as a flexible opportunity for myself after the sabbatical. So I am a soft skill trainer at Institute, and past 10 years I have my own practice wherein I'm trying to maintain a lot of flexibility for my kids, for myself, and thanks to Institute for giving us this wonderful platform wherein every time I get an opportunity to deal with, energetic lot which is coming out to become aspiring chartered accountants for future. So this is all about me.
Thank you. So nice. It's very good. And I think Institute also does a lot. They have a digital hub. I've actually went and tried to register 1 or 2 courses, started with it, and midway I've left it. But I did do it, and they also have very good courses, which is very nice on the digital hub, especially. So it's only thing is we have to get the time to do it.
In the COVID period, I think that was one of the boon which I received. I completed some training aspects on forensics, that is the forensic course. At the same time, concurrent audits, I said, let's add value somewhere, aage chalkar kaam aayega, because I remember it was only in 2019, Bahroze ma'am and Poornima ma'am, you were there on ICI women meeting, and you definitely inspired me there. And it was just after that the COVID period came in. So it was like a complete block. But then I said, let's not stop there. At least, add some degrees to yourself. And I really did not know that, by the end of the COVID period, I'll receive you both over here to, keep me inspiring again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Poornima, you were saying something, I think.
Yeah. No, sorry. So about cryptocurrency, like what Shweta said, yeah, there's a lot more that I think I would really love to know about the asset class. But from whatever little I know, one, obviously it is still not recognized as a, asset class where you can actually invest. I mean, maybe individuals do, because there is a very small limit. So only I think individuals are able to sort of do that. The National Stock Exchange or the BSE, both of them, don't use this to trade. So that still is sort of a thing that it's not nationally sort of accepted yet. And there is, I think, Wazir or some other such stock exchange only which does it. But otherwise, from the benefit point of view, of course, cryptocurrency seems to be like the in thing. The transaction costs are less, it's more transparent, it is supposed to have shorter settlement cycles, etc. So, I mean, from all that perspective, I think it is supposed to be like the in thing.
Yeah.
But how will it really pan out as an asset class? I don't know yet. And it's something that maybe I'll need to research a lot more. And it has to gain more acceptability.
Yeah.
How will sovereign digital currency, how will it compare, not necessarily against the cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency still is not like a established asset class in India. But how does it compare to its own, government securities and all the other asset classes that are currently available? And why would the government want to do, I mean, digital currency? How established will that end up being? Will it still have all the advantages of the private cryptocurrency, but still be able to find acceptability? It's still to be seen, but yeah, it's definitely an area of interest.
Yeah, actually, cryptos in India, RBI had banned it, but then there were petitions which were taken up before Supreme Court. So Supreme Court lifted the ban which was put in by RBI. Then Supreme Court directed a committee should be formed to really come out with its report and then take a decision on it. So the committee was formed. There was a report which they came out with also, and there was a draft bill also which was put out to say that it should be banned in India, but you will give an exit to those people who have already invested, because people have invested into it. But going forward, but that bill has still not been tabled in Parliament. It is still under discussion, and they're still working towards it to say what they should be doing. Some countries have accepted it, some have not accepted it, so it is still being under discussion in India. But it's an interesting topic to be knowing about, and it can have a lot of implications.
Yeah, it is definitely an interesting topic. If it just comes out of the currently only private transactions seem to be happening.
Yeah.
If it sort of comes out of that, I think it's a good inflation hedge. It can be really used also effectively. So lot remains to be seen how it all pans out.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think we've discussed enough for the afternoon, and any last thoughts or messaging that you would like to give on whatever relevance, to be relevant in this industry, to be relevant in this ecosystem? Shweta?
I would just say, believe in yourself. Anything happens, first manifest it in your mind. Whatever is there in your mind, you can definitely achieve it. So first believe in yourself. That is most important. And sky is the limit, like no one can stop anyone from doing whatever they want to. Just be true to yourself.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I can tell you, Shweta is very meticulous. Anything I would send to her, she would respond immediately, and it really is damn good. So meticulous, she would respond. She would ask, what is it to be said, done, discussed? I mean, you need to be that way. You need to be meticulous in your life to really put everything in order. Though sometimes I'm not, but I appreciate it lots.
Thank you so much. But you are over appreciating me.
No. It was very well. I mean, when I understood and talked to her, I thought it was very nice.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Poornima, sorry.
I'm saying that's a quality about Bahroze, that she always sort of brings out the best in you. And this is the second time I'm on a panel with you, Bahroze. So when you called the other day, I said, there's no way I'm going to miss talking to you. It's fantastic. And you are able to, like I messaged you also just now, I think you're able to keep the conversation relevant. You are really able to capture interest. I think you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. It was not that. I think you all were very nice. Thank you for joining in. You all were able to continue, I mean, really contribute to it. Seriously, you contribute so well. You know,
No, and,
that
and
way
also the energy that you have, Behroze, that really flows in the
Yeah,
conversation.
that is what really,
yeah.
So left to ourselves, maybe I don't know, maybe Shweta would have, but I don't think I don't think I'm as good a conversationalist as you. So I think you bring out the best in.
I bring out the best in people.
You bring out the
Yes,
best
you
in
do.
people.
I
Yes.
totally agree to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now I will
Okay,
hand it over to Barkha. Do I hand it over to you or Ashita?
Yes, yes.
I hand it
Myself.
over to Barkha. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. We had a very nice session. Thank you. And all the best to all the women folks.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us a chance. Thanks, Behroze. Thanks, Poornima. It was a great pleasure knowing you here. Thanks, Barkha,
Same
and
here,
thanks
same
to
here.
WIRC. Thank you so much.
I would definitely like to, take this opportunity to thank you all the panelists out over here, Poornima ma'am, Shweta ma'am, and definitely Behroze ma'am. I think Behroze ma'am is an outstanding female, which I have seen, like last 3-4 years. So very humble, so very jovial, but yet very much meticulous in terms of bringing out the best for everyone. I think she just took this 1 minute over here and she asked me like, tell me something about yourself. I was like, wow, I'm getting some, limelight here. So thank you so much, Behroze ma'am. And I think you all were very interesting in terms of bringing out all the practical experiences in terms of professional life, personal life, making that work-life balance, very clearly for us. I would definitely remember the key word here, which Behroze ma'am brought in. We are listening this word of upskilling and reskilling for last 6 to 7 days. But then I think the survival technique, which the word came in, I think that is the ultimate thing, because if you don't learn, relearn, you are not over here. And there is somewhere I read, that the most illiterate person of 21st century is not the one who really does not know to read or write, but the one who is not learning, unlearning, and relearning. Right? So that is definitely that person would definitely be a illiterate. And I think the highlights of the sessions would be definitely your practical examples with which you enlighten. बहुत सारी opportunities है, just go for it. And I think you people are experts in your areas, taxation, private equity, insurance, and so many other things which you've been doing around, and you've been telling people that there are so many things which you can do in life. So I think you have motivated us really very much. In fact, somewhere you have empowered us with the thought that we really need to read, make sure what is our interest, captivate it, and move on in life. So thank you for sharing that how technology, networking, everything is very important to rebuild yourself and bounce back. So thank you, each one of you, for presenting your great thoughts. I would definitely thank you for spending each and every minute over here and giving us that enrichment. And thank you once again to all the three.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Poornima. Thanks, Shweta.
Thanks, Behroze.
Barkha.
Thanks, Poornima. Thanks, Barkha.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good evening.